Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. Tonight I'm going to open the meeting for Monday, March 13th, 2023 at 6 p.m. First order of business, I'm going to turn over to Carl Rosenquist for Pledge of Allegiance.
Anybody want to join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
The stands
one
one nation, under God,
liberty and justice.
and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is just review the agenda to see if there's any additions or deletions on there. I don't think we have any at this time.
Do we want a section to, oh, do I need to no, I don't need to make a motion before I speak, do I? Do we want a section to talk about transparency?
I think it's
It's on
in there.
It's on there? Okay.
or-
Oh, no, it's
No,
not.
competency ethics.
I thought it was agreed to go to the
I
next
thought we were
meeting.
going on the next meeting, but we can see how you want that dependent on the time.
Yeah, let's see how long it goes.
Or just-
Great, yeah.
So. But we need to know, I need to, if we're adding it, and then if we see we're running the time, take it off.
Okay.
All right, let's add it, and then if we are running over time, we can take it off.
Okay, so now. We need to. And this is my first time doing this, so I'll just bear with me, okay? So we need to have a nominee for a select board chair.
I have a nominee, Cheryl, if I could.
Sure.
So you're acting as chair for right now until we elect a chairman, is that it?
Correct.
Okay, so I'd like to nominate Carl Rosenquist as chair. There is no one else more qualified sitting around the table than Carl. We all know his backgrounds, significant business and public volunteer work behind him. And I feel he's tremendously qualified. So it's with pleasure that I nominate him to be chair.
Okay, do we have,
Thank you, Carol.
do we have a sec, any other nominees?
Nominations don't need to be seconded, but there can be other nominees.
Okay, any other nominees?
I nominate Devin as chair and Carl as co-chair.
I
Okay.
decline.
I didn't realize we were accepting nominations for
We're not
co-chair.
as co-chair yet.
Okay,
We're just.
I nominate Devin as chair.
Okay,
May I speak on behalf of my commission?
I think so. He can speak, Carolyn.
Yes, sure.
Thank you. I appreciate the fact that I've been nominated as chair. I obviously was very disappointed in the outcome of the election, even though I'm very happy you joined us. I know you've all been interested in becoming involved in town affairs, and that's very admirable, and we respect that. I was concerned that you were coming to the board with what we call it, agenda items. I mean, you even say it in your email that we have a common agenda, the three of you. And, you know, I just think that's not what we want to do if we want to move forward in the town. So anyway, that's one reason I think I could bring to the board leadership and an ability to move forward, get things done. And that's why I would really appreciate it if I can be chair. And I guess that's enough of my spiel. Thank you.
All right. May I speak on behalf of my nomination?
Sure.
I think that in honor of the results of the vote, Shannon, Jamie, and I, we campaigned with a joint agenda. And that agenda was to work on building up our town, our community, bringing people together. And I think that in order to do that, one of the three of us need to be in the position of leadership on this board. And so I am happy to accept that role. I do want to honor you, Carl, and the experience that you bring to this board. And We do recognize that we are new in this position. Our hope is to work with all of you to be able to move this community in a way that will build it up for everybody.
Okay.
Can anybody else speak or no? I don't know, just, you might open it up to them. Okay,
Jamie, do you have a comment about it?
No, I'm just waiting for the second.
Well, I guess, all in favor of Carl?
Aye.
aye,
All in favor of Devin?
Aye.
So I guess Devin is the chair.
All right.
Congratulations, Devin.
Thank you, Carol. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, I'm turning the meeting over to you.
All right, our next order of business is to review our agenda.
You need a vice chair.
Oh, sorry. Then our
Yeah.
next,
That's why I just told you.
yes, then our next order of business is to elect a vice chair. Do we have any nominations?
I nominate Carl. I understand that he declined that, but I just wanted to put on record.
Do we have any other nominations? This is interesting. Do we have anybody who would like to make any, Carl, you denied, Carl's declined the nomination.
Then I nominate you.
Any nomination? Are you willing to accept the nomination?
Yes.
Do we have any comments on the nomination of Shannon Jenkins as the vice chair of this board? Then shall we move to a vote? Everybody in favor of electing Shannon as vice chair of this select board?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I can't hear very well, Devin. What just
Oh.
happened?
There were no comments. There were no comments on electing Shannon as vice chair. Carl was nominated, but he declined. And so we've moved to vote on whether or not we would like to have Shannon as vice chair of this board.
Who made the motion?
Jamie?
Okay. I didn't hear any of that.
No, I was speaking softly. I'll try to speak up. Use my passive voice.
And I'm sorry, some of it's my hearing too. I left my hearing aids at home, but so anyway, I apologize. So we've just elected Shannon as vice chair.
Well, would you like to vote as well?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so
So she's the nominee, right?
she got 3 votes, yes.
She got
But
3 votes. Okay.
yes, but do you want to be on the record?
Yes, I want to be on the record as voting yes.
Okay,
I will vote yes for that.
all right, then Shannon is unanimously voted in as our vice chair.
Congratulations, Shannon. More women,
you.
the better.
Should I be proceeding by the agenda that we have here on the top, or should I be proceeding from the agenda that we have here with the bullet points?
So this is the agenda that we're working for.
All right,
Those are my notes.
then our next order of business is the review of the agenda.
We're down here.
Oh, we're on the select board minutes and warrants.
Mhm.
Thank you. Then our next order of business is the select board minutes and warrants.
I move the select board minutes from the 25th of February. It was basically a meet and greet.
Would anybody like to second that?
I'll second that. Yeah.
Will we vote to approve the minutes for the meet and greet?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye. Okay, we are unanimous on that. Would somebody move to approve the select board meetings for the regular meeting in on February 27th?
So moved.
I wanted to bring up concern about Gary Wright's statement on the 27th being inaccurate.
You need to get a second.
Okay,
I will second that for you.
okay. I wanted to see if there was a way that we could review what Gary had said in the meeting.
For accuracy,
Yes,
and no, you can't do that. All you can do is vote to approve the minutes or not approve the minutes.
okay,
You can't, he's not on the board anymore, so he can't defend himself. What, gee, this
And
gets
you
into a
can't
lot of,
approve them because you guys weren't part of the meetings.
that's,
right, so I just want to
So,
bring up inaccuracies, so do I just say?
you
that I
might
don't
have,
approve?
you might have an opinion about whether or not it's accurate, but you can't act on that. What you could do, this would be very complicated, but you could call Gary in for a subsequent meeting and ask him to clarify that.
Okay,
But I mean, that's gonna be extremely time consuming. And I think it would probably also involve some legal involvement. I mean, an attorney. So I don't know.
Of anything in Robert's rules in the reading that I've done that tell us that we can't discuss, but maybe we should before we make any moves or make any motions based off of anything like that. Are we just reviewing it to discuss accuracy?
yes,
Okay, I don't know of anything that says that we can't discuss it. Susanna,
Technically, since you three weren't on the board, it's really just Carolyn and Carl. who
they're the
have
only
to
ones who
say.
can discuss.
yes.
okay.
And you're saying that you have nothing to say about it?
I don't know what she's referring to anyway, so I mean, I
I
don't have
don't know what exactly what
Okay.
she's talking about. Are you
I
talking
think
to
that,
Shannon or to me?
who are you asking? Who are you talking to, Carolyn?
I couldn't
Can you
tell.
rephrase the question? Can you
Yeah.
clarify your
Let me
question?
clarify. On the minutes for that date, it does not include language that Gary used about referencing, I believe pronouns and employees that I think would behoove us to have on the record. And it doesn't include those in the minutes.
All right. And so Carolyn and Carl, if you do not have any recollection of that, then I don't think we have anything to discuss and we can move on. Or do you have
I
anything
honestly,
to recall from that?
Devin, I honestly don't remember that at all.
Okay,
But it may have happened. So I guess I'd rather not offer a comment. I can't remember.
understandable.
Um,
And Carl, remember anything from that meeting either?
No.
All right, well then, having nothing to discuss, let us move on to the vote on whether or not we approve the meetings for the minutes for February 27th, 2023. All who are in favor, please say aye.
Just be two of us that
Yeah.
are voting on this.
Oh, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carolyn, are you in
Aye.
favor?
Yes, I'm in favor.
And I imagine that will apply to the minutes for February 28th, 2023 as well. Three of us were not there, you two were. And do you approve the minutes for that meeting as well?
I saw no
Oh.
errors in.
Oh,
We need them, but you weren't there as a board.
Did you just
do
move
we
them?
have somebody who would move to
I'll
approve the minutes?
move them.
And
So can we?
oh,
can we
sorry.
put back a minute?
Of course, sorry.
The minutes for the 27th.
I did.
Devin did.
Devin can't,
I
because
know
he's
that.
not.
It's only Carl and Carolyn. 'cause
I
they're the
know,
only
but
ones that were there.
I believe I moved the
You
minutes.
moved him, Carl, thank you.
I
And
apologize.
then Carolyn seconded them.
Yes,
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah.
And then all in favor.
I,
Okay, and now the ones for the 27th or
Okay.
28th.
No, please tell me to slow down if you would like.
I move approval of the minutes from the 28th.
and I
You hear
said,
that?
yes, I did hear that, and I second that.
And shall you vote? Are you ready to vote on the minutes?
Yes,
Who is in favor of the minutes for the meeting?
I,
Okay, and we've got a couple of names that I need to find out who they are. Up here, unless iPhone, could you tell me your name, please?
Tanya Moore.
Thank you. Sarah, your last name?
It's Sarah Savage. Sorry, I couldn't find the mute.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, no, Bethany?
Hello, it is a Bethany of Langevin. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Dale? Doug?
Cheryl Stale Goad.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Doug and Dawn?
Penny.
Thank you.
Yvonne, can I ask a question? Of course. As far as approving the minutes, two votes are not going to approve the minutes. And the question here is not whether you new folks were on the board at that point. What you're looking to do is approve what you see in the minutes. And only having two people vote doesn't approve anything.
My understanding is that if only two people can vote, it just needs to be a majority. So if we are unable to vote, then I'm not entirely sure how we can. Not entirely sure.
I don't see why you can't vote. You're the new select board that's approving past minutes. It doesn't matter if you were there or not, or if you were on the board or not, but your task tonight is to approve these minutes as written, as the new select board. Not.
So this is a question of procedure.
Mhm.
Do we have, would it be okay if I was to ask a clarifying question? Susanna, do you happen to know?
I'm looking right now.
Or Carl, have you experienced this before?
No, but it would seem that it's logical what Ken is talking about. I mean, you were all at those meetings, so it would seem, even though you weren't there as select people,
Mhm.
I would agree with Ken on this particular thing.
Okay.
You were, some of you were at each of those meetings.
Yes.
Most of you were at all of them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And so,
And they've all been taped, so if there's any questions about what was said,
Then we can review.
it's
Then we can
there.
review.
It's,
Okay.
this gentleman has it.
Because the question is, are you thinking that the minutes don't accurately reflect what he said, or you're thinking that what his statement was not accurate?
Oh, you were
Because
asking me
there's
about
a
the
difference.
27th.
So there's a
I'm saying that what was recorded as the words coming out of his mouth compared to what were on the minutes were different. So that's what I wanted
You're
to
going
bring up, that I wanted to
the tape.
reflect, yes, that I wanted to reflect the accuracy of what was said. To have a document reflecting the accuracies of what was said during this lecture.
and so are you suggesting that we hold approving these minutes until they are updated with what was actually said?
I think, Carolyn, your take was that we can then go back and seek clarification and review it.
Yes, I think someone could call Gary and say, what did you say? Or somebody even better could listen to the tape and
Yeah.
write word
Okay.
for
Makes
word what
sense to
the
me.
tape says.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And so shall we go back, make a motion to go back and vote on the minutes for,
No, we can't. We have to have a different motion to, Carolyn, don't we have to have a different motion now that the motion has been approved?
Well, it can still be,
How do we go back?
Well, you can vote to reconsider that.
Reconsider those motions?
Yeah, we can do that.
shall we vote to reconsider the motion on, oh, yes,
Can you just table this until the next meeting?
that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a procedural vote to go back and consider it and vote on tabling it.
You don't wanna table it because then you have to take a meeting to take it off the table before you can actually talk about it. So you can set it aside for the next meeting, but you don't wanna table it.
All right, then we're basically making a motion to go back and vote on whether or not we are setting aside the minutes for the 27th. Yes.
Find out before you do your voting, whether or not two people can vote because they were the actual people on the board. I mean, there should be some legal thing there.
Absolutely. Robert's
Before
rules
you
can
guys
be pretty,
decide to vote on it,
yes,
okay.
yes, that we can do. And so shall we vote on going, would somebody like to make a motion to go back and reconsider the minutes for February 27th, 2023?
Aye.
Would somebody second that?
A second.
Will we vote on, please vote in favor or not in favor?
Favor.
In favor,
Favor.
Against,
okay. And so the motion carries, and so
Carolyn.
Carolyn, did you vote? Were you able
No.
to hear?
I was able to hear, but I have not voted. I'm voting against.
Okay,
So,
so we have 3 in favor and 2 against. And so the motion, the proposal is to table the minute, not table, to set aside the minutes for the 27th of February.
March,
Do we just go straight into a vote for this one?
March 27th.
Yep. Oh,
You said February.
this is the 27th.
You wanna put it on for March 27th, not February 27th,
Oh, we're tabling it for March 27th.
but you're not tabling.
Well, excuse me, we're setting it aside for March 27th, I'm sorry. So we are setting aside the minutes for February 27th
March
be-
27th,
to be considered on March 27th.
yes.
Yes. Who is in favor of setting aside the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
for the 27th, and we ought to include someone to review the tape.
Yes, Shannon, would you be willing to review? the-
I am willing to. I'm just wondering if there is somebody else that we can nominate so that it doesn't seem
Yes,
biased.
Well, our
Carl?
minute taker, or the person that types up our minutes, watches the videos, and that's where she gets her information to type them out.
would you be willing to do that?
Or who is
Or
the
you.
minute taker?
Martha B. Sharp. So she goes off the videos and types up what she
Okay,
gets off the videos.
so we will work with Martha to review the minutes and make sure that they're accurate.
So Cheryl, the thing is, this was Martha's interpretation of what was on the tape already,
Yes.
and we're questioning whether or not she heard that correctly. All right,
And we will
So-
also go through the rules to see whether or not 2 people are able to approve the minutes as well.
yeah.
Well, I think we need to find out that before we have Martha go through all these minutes.
Makes sense to me.
I have a question.
Yes,
So, my understanding of minutes isn't, exact words of everybody who speaks. It's supposed to be the gist of what they're saying. Am I correct in that?
Yes, and actually, you only have to really put in motions of these minutes and action items. You don't put in word for word what everybody says in the minutes, then they become transcripts.
It's not a transcript.
your reasoning was because you felt that the language could be beneficial in the long run.
Yes.
Okay. So for the purpose of making our lives easier, I think that it's worth moving forward with this. But we will, of course, we'll do our best to first make sure that the rules are clear about whether or not the motion can carry with this Carl and Carolyn. And then we'll ask Martha.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
When you're trying to make sure of if the rules will apply to just 2 people voting, who are you gonna put that out to? Is that gonna go to legal? Or is that going to just go to some individual that, you're just gonna look into it?
I think
There's
Just-
parliamentarians that live here in town, Judge Rainville is
Yeah,
a
that's
parliamentarian, you
Mhm.
could ask
Just
him.
wondering which way you're gonna go and figuring out what the.
Yeah,
I think that if the parliamentarians agree that two people can carry the vote, then we will accept the minutes as is.
Mhm.
And if the three of us, if all five of us need to vote on the minutes, then we will move forward about whether or not we will see about whether or not the language should be updated to better reflect what was said.
Amber, do you know?
Perhaps.
Previous meeting.
Should we like that? Touch base with first before you go through the rest of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, that is what will happen. All right, and so we have no objection to the minutes that were approved for the 28th? Or do we want all of us to vote on the minutes for February 28th as well?
I think we can vote on them, but I don't know, like they said, they were the only two on the board, so we can approve, but it might not.
It might not
stand.
matter. Let's just vote on it so that we can
Yeah.
cover our
Okay,
bases
great.
and then move on with the meeting.
Yeah.
And so, are we all in favor of the minutes for February 28th?
Well, we have to, there already was a motion, so.
Then returning to the motion, are we in favor of the minutes for February 28th?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to approve the warrants? AP number 1.
Well, first off,
More
before you can
information on that.
approve one, we need to set up, someone has to come in and go through all these invoices.
Okay.
And match them up with the warrants to make sure that the amounts are correct and where that goes. So Amber has been, looked at these, Kyle briefly skimmed over them, so I don't know, you guys want to take some time, the warrant's gonna be signed this evening, but to go over, just to skim through the bills and the warrants before you sign off on it, but
did we get an answer on that? The
so we have a question with,
required,
The-
why it doesn't match up.
the
with
warrant
budget.
says 83,000 and the budget says 70,000 for the, so we're just wondering.
Two different pieces of things. 70,000 is the loan for the building. This is not the building loan.
But it says fire tanker on the line.
Correct.
I don't understand that, Cheryl. What is the question?
Well, that's what, it was a question brought to me and I said, I didn't know, so. Here it says loan payments for
Mhm.
2023 pumper tanker. 70,375.
That's correct, because 70,000 is that part of its interest, so they're never gonna match here. The interest is down here and the actual loan part's up there.
Okay, so the interest is included in that for
Yes,
them,
that's
okay,
correct.
yep, that's all we need to
There you
clarify.
go.
So we add
Thank
the
you.
interest to that 70,000.
So the interest goes in, so there's $12,000 worth of interest. Then on the 7-day,
It's that one right there.
It's not, that's full, yeah.
so because the invoice was for 83, so does that count
So
interest?
there, that does include interest. Yep, that does include the interest.
Okay,
The
so,
whole payment is 82,338.67.
okay,
So there's that amount that goes to the principal, and then there's the amount that goes to the interest. You will see that with every loan, Union Bank, or the same of which, if you were to pull the Union Bank loan that I asked to be loaded, did it get added? Union Bank. Right, is it on here? Is it on here, Union Bank? I have for Union Bank, yep. So Union Bank will be the same thing, it will not match up.
okay, so it will,
Every loan will have, the previous board said they want all the interest to go to that one line and the actual principal to go above. Because the
okay,
70,000 will come out of the fire department reserve.
but the 12,000 comes out of the budget.
Correct.
Okay,
And it's the same way with, because after this payment's made, the 2020 GMC will be paid off.
okay. Thank you for that clarification.
So Devin, what we did with the previous board is we assigned one person to go over the warrants and match up the purchase orders with the amount that was on the warrant. And so that was all done before the meeting, and then that person would report whether or not he found a discrepancy or not. There were some discrepancies, some things that were incorrect. So he would have researched that all before the meeting and got it resolved somehow, depending
Is
on
there
what
a-
the issue was.
Is there a way in the future for us to get this before the meeting?
Well, you
Sure.
have to come in and do the invoices, so somebody's gonna
Okay,
come in and
great.
do the invoices.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that any of us were aware of that.
Yeah, well, we had to wait till we had.
The
a
first
board.
meeting is always difficult because there are a lot of things like that,
Okay.
but
Okay,
but that's what we did before and it seemed to work out okay. And the person who did that was Gary, who was a trained auditor anyway, so he had a ton of experience with this, so it all came easily. I don't know if there's anybody willing to do that or not.
warrants with the,
You're matching the
lines.
warrants, looking, make sure,
Okay.
you know,
I think that,
the budget items and stuff is
That's
in there and the
doable.
expenses look like they're.
okay,
And whoever's doing that, when Jerry first started doing it, I had worked with him, going through them, because I seem to have more than most.
okay,
Because of my budget figures, so
okay,
that way there's any questions.
great.
He said these need to be signed off on tonight.
That warrant needs to be signed tonight, yes, so that the bills can get paid.
Okay.
Not included in their packet anymore.
The warrant?
Mm-hmm.
No, normally they just, Gary would go through it all and then the board, he would tell the board it was fine.
Okay, what about the previous board before Gary? How did they? operate?
I didn't do their.
Would be-
Would be in their packet?
But it's a lot of paper,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
whereas just having one person review it saves a lot of paper and a lot of
Yeah,
time.
yeah, okay,
Yes, Carl.
To maybe simplify this to some extent, I was gonna say this, like, if I had become chair, I was gonna recommend the way we'd set it up in the past, to have 4 standing committees, which are made up 2 people each, so that they could discuss things without, warning a meeting outside of the structure, if you will.
yeah,
And those 4 committees were finance and budget, highway, buildings and grounds, okay? Personnel and policy and recreation. And I had chosen people that I was going to recommend for that. But obviously that changed a little bit, but I'll substitute. Let's see what I'm gonna do here. I guess I would substitute myself for Devin in this case, okay, because you're the chair. So I'd say finance and budget, my recommendation was Carolyn and Jamie. So on highway, buildings and grounds. It would be me and Jamie. Okay. On personal policy. Yeah, on personnel and policy. It was going to be Carolyn and Shannon. And then on recreation, it would be me and Shannon. Okay. That was my recommendation was. Obviously, you don't have to accept it, but it seemed to work.
And you would-
Before, so presumably, in the finance and budget arena, those people would work out who signs or gets the warrant signed and brings it to the meeting. Okay, that's, they go through the package here, okay? The folder.
And with the edits that you've made, would you like to make a motion for us to approach the warrants in that way?
The warrants in that way, yes, okay. All right.
Okay, did somebody second?
I'll second that. And Devin,
Carol
I'm
seconds it.
wondering if we can hand the warrants over to Jamie right now, because I'm in Montpelier.
He has them right now.
Okay, I can't
Oh.
see that. The camera's not showing. that.
Understandable.
Yeah,
Zoom could be,
Okay.
it can be annoying. Yes,
So
so
somebody write those down, those committee assignments, or,
Do you have the list so I can get it from you after, or?
yeah, it just has, because I now have to substitute
Oh, okay.
my name for Devin's, okay?
Right.
I'll do that.
so
Sure, yeah.
Shannon and I would be doing the rec.
no,
No, that was
Carl and I.
Carl. and
I
you would be
had
doing-
you on that committee. If I had been chair.
Okay,
But now I did put you on no committees, okay, as the chair, okay? right.
okay.
And so that so I'm crossing through which one I'm doing now.
Okay, so who's doing personnel?
Carolyn and I?
Personnel is Carolyn and Shannon, yes, okay.
okay.
Okay, buildings,
Buildings and grounds is Jamie and Carl. Okay. And Todd is the staff member, okay, right. And when I said finance and budget, Carolyn and Jamie, I would also have, when we have a treasurer, that would be the staff person that would work with that person.
Okay,
And on highway and buildings and grounds, as I say, that's Jamie and myself, and Todd would be our staff person. On personnel policy, or personnel and policy, it would be Carolyn and Shannon, and Cheryl would be the staff person as the administrator, okay? And on recreation, I don't have a staff person at this point.
Okay.
That I recommended, okay? But on recreation, it would be myself and Shannon, is that right? That's what we decided? Okay, so is that, do we have that correct now?
Okay. Okay, so these are the other nominees that we need for all the other boards. To go
Okay.
over, so there's 4 pages.
So if I just finish my thought there,
Yep.
I'm sorry. Carol, but a lot of times something will come up at a meeting, and instead of talking the whole thing out at that particular meeting, sometimes the chair would recommend we delegate that issue to one of the subcommittees to bring back at a subsequent meeting with a recommendation.
yes,
Really what moves meetings along a lot faster, because maybe something comes up, and none of us really have a clue, you know, and so we're gonna sit here and try to resolve it, and that's not really a very effective use of time. So many times, in fact, I would say many times we'd go ahead and assign that to a subcommittee.
Okay, Suzanne?
Just to point out, because I heard this be said, but perhaps Carl, but I'm not sure. Committees still have to abide by the open meeting law.
Correct, that's what.
Open meeting law is any board or committee formed by one of those boards. So those meetings still should be warned and open to the public. And I have never seen any of the committee meetings get warned in the past year.
Committee meetings only had 2
It
people.
doesn't matter how many people. I asked the state of Vermont, they said committee meetings, and it says right in here, as well as any committee created by one of the public bodies. Vermont State Statute 310-3.
So every one of these committees will need to give warning before they meet. And is that 24 hours warning, 48 hours? Okay.
Just a comment about the whole concept of committees. That was something that the previous select board had adopted. It had never been done in the past, just for your information.
Okay.
You sure that, Ken, I could have sworn that many times things were delegated to a committee to come back with the recommendation, so.
I never remember the select board appointing committees to these different tasks in the past, before last year.
You have a question?
Oh, sorry.
When I was on school board, we had committees that, we had like buildings and grounds committee that had 2 people meet on it that did exactly this, so.
Yeah, that's what I was going
I
on.
don't think
I've
it's
served on the school
necessarily-
board, and that's what we use, so we
Right.
move the meetings along.
I contacted the state last year when they started doing these committees, and the state said unless it is a committee assigned by the governor, any other committee formed by a board that follows open meeting law in the state of Vermont, then the committees also have to follow the open meeting law. in the state.
Right, well, I can see them having to follow the open meeting law if there's a quorum, but if you don't have a
No,
quorum.
the committee is 2 people, so a quorum is 2.
Mhm. I think that as long as we are following the open meeting law, it sounds like this task would be easier to accomplish if we divide it up among committees.
I agree, and I do like the idea of these committee meetings being having a notice so that people
Mhm.
can attend. It doesn't have to be in this room, correct? Could be at the
That was
library.
my understanding.
Yeah, it could
Right.
be at the library, it could be at another public place. But I would like to have input. I don't think that it's a bad idea obviously, to follow the rules.
Yes,
If you don't give it the name committee, can they just meet? It be two people from the board needs to review the information and then bring the information to the meeting so that you don't have to have 5 people going over everything all the time. You just don't call it a committee.
Because my concern is just the personnel committee. So when we have a candidate to come in and
yeah,
Yep.
an interview, and I have 2 other people,
Mhm.
we can't have the rest of the public in for those interviews.
Correct, but that would be the executive session.
I don't think you, I, I don't think you can hold an executive session as a committee. Because you're not. You're not a board as, right? I mean, it's,
Yeah,
you can hold
yeah.
executive session here because you're a select board and
Right.
you're allowed
the
to do
board
that.
can do that.
As a committee.
But it would be private information that we would be talking about
So we
personnel.
wouldn't be able to form that committee. It would just be 2 of you there interviewing somebody.
Yeah,
I think Beth's recommendation is not a bad one. You just don't call it a committee. You're assigning it to
yeah,
two board members.
yeah. I
Well,
think
that
something
last
like
one, yeah.
recreation, it's appropriate to
task.
have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, I agree. So to get this straight in my head, for the task group, that we do not have a person, a full chair assigned for.
I'm sorry.
We are going to be assigning committees for every one of these line items, except for the one where we are missing the personnel. Yeah, except for personnel.
Yeah, these are different than what we were. just
Yeah, these are
talking about.
nominations.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I need to do something with my hands. Okay.
I have a solution for that.
So we're not talking about these committees then right now or what? Or-
No, we are.
We are. Here,
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. I think that makes sense, that things like the rec committee, the, what were the other ones, grounds and buildings?
Yeah, I had finance and budget,
Mhm, mhm,
highway, buildings and grounds.
mhm.
That's all one, okay?
Yeah,
And personnel and policy. Okay, and then recreation.
okay, so maybe only the personnel and policy be the task force, or not task force.
task force sounds cool.
That sounds so much better. That be the only one that's not where the public is involved.
Yeah, it's not designated as a committee.
Yeah,
I thought, well. my
Well, your
suggestion
budget and
was none
finance.
of them would be designated as committee, they'd just be two people.
Can we go over that? What would the public present? Like this here, like Carolyn and I go over this, like with people present, or should that be not?
No, that can be,
That was the
that's public information anyway. It's
Sure.
public,
So yes,
I mean,
we would want to,
guys, we're kind of, Devin, can I speak?
of course,
We're sort of getting where we're reinventing the wheel here. Every board in every small town in Vermont has dealt with this before. I would suggest for clarity, we have somebody go to our town attorney and have him give us a couple of paragraphs of guidance here on how we should operate from now on. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Everybody's been doing this for generations.
understandable. We just had two conflicting ideas about what was appropriate and what had done before. It was unclear to us.
So let's get
Yes.
the opinion of the attorney. We could talk about what previous boards have done, but I think we should just go right to an attorney, get his thought on what's the right thing to do and go forward. And that way, we don't open a previous board up to all kinds of criticism either, or even our board right here. We want to start it right. So let's instruct Cheryl to go to the lawyers and have them give us some opinion. And I'm not talking about a long drawn out narrative here, more than one page, one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper would be plenty.
So you are
Just
suggesting
my
that
thought. Yeah.
we ask you, Cheryl, to go to the lawyer, give us some clarification so we can just move forward.
On how these committees or, yeah, I'm cool with that.
You cool with that? Okay, shall we make a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
shall we vote on whether or not we will have Cheryl consult a legal assistance and to allow us to move forward with appointing the warrants?
Agreed.
Agree.
aye. Aye.
Unanimous, it is a unanimous vote there.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I mean, sometimes my hearing's not great.
We have, do we agree to have Cheryl approach a lawyer?
Right, no, I heard that.
Okay, and so we voted, Carolyn was in favor, the three of us were
Yeah,
in
I am
favor.
too.
Okay, then it is a unanimous vote. Are we voting on? Are we moving forward with the agenda now?
Think so.
Okay. So are these the appointments of officers?
These are the, yes,
Yeah.
for all the other boards. So when I've written in the names of who we need to.
These are the nominees.
Yeah.
Then there is one thing that I would like to make a motion for before we do that, and the motion would be to.
Right there, number 22.
Yes, it would be to move article, it's not an article, is it? Motion, policy number 22,
No,
Two.
that's just number 22.
Number
Motion
22.
to Reaffirm that with policy.
exactly, thank you very much. Would be to move the ethics policy number 22 to the forefront of our agenda, so that we, before we appoint officers, we will have an ethics policy in place. Basically guiding us through this process.
And just the word, this policy is outdated and
Yes.
references other boards and things like that, so we will have to get this updated for the next one, but you're reinstating the 18 with the incorrect one.
Correct. So I think that we are going to need some discussion, but would somebody second the motion?
I second the motion.
And Carl,
Yeah, I'd just like to say the main purpose for this meeting tonight is reorganization. So I don't think we should move things around on the agenda before we reorganize. So that would be my point. I think we should go through the rest of the reorganization before we move on with the rest of the agenda.
your point is heard. I do believe that what Cheryl said is correct, that there need to be some updates to the 2018 ethics, conflict of interest and code of ethics policy.
Right. Which we all have a copy of here.
Yes, I would like to suggest having an open committee or that would review the code of ethics and make suggestions for any future updates that we should make to it. Along with that, I would suggest that we just, for the time being, vote in this code of ethics with the understanding that we will be updating it later down the line at a future date.
Well, I mean, the reason we rescinded it was out of date.
Mhm.
It was brought to our attention by somebody in this room, okay, and we rescinded it, so. So we're gonna approve something that's been rescinded that has not yet been updated, okay, so. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, but, you know,
I do understand. I think that honestly, I think it's better to have something than nothing.
Was there, once it was rescinded, is there a newer version?
no, not to the best of my knowledge. This is, I think it's the exact policy.
Right.
We all-
So this is
We have
the
a bunch of
most,
policies that need to be updated and stuff,
Right.
and so we update them. Then they get sent to the attorney,
Mhm.
then they come back for.
Okay, and what,
here's the policy.
where are we at with that?
Oh, we have a whole binder full of policies that we're updating, so. a policy.
Okay, so they're at the lawyer or,
This is not, no. We have
Okay.
this, we have to board, have to update these policies and get
Mhm.
them sent out.
okay. How long was the 2018 one in use?
It's 2018.
But like, okay, so but like how often do they get updated? Every single year? or
Every
like-
year it is ratified, as I think
Okay.
it said, that might be the terminology used on there. It has to be reaffirmed at
Mhm.
our reorganization meeting, okay? And at the last one, the chair at that point had postponed it until it was reworked. Okay?
Mhm.
Kyle Grenier said,
Mhm.
we'll postpone it until a future meeting because of all the changes and turnover
Mhm.
in staff. It slipped through the cracks. We never
Mhm.
did update it.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Okay,
You know, this policy definitely needs to be updated, but currently we do not have a policy.
yeah. I make a motion to this. Go ahead.
Yes,
Just for clarification. So you have no policy now,
correct.
and I brought this up at one of the other meetings. I can understand the updating, but you don't discard the old one until you have a new one to take its place.
Correct.
Even though it may not be 100% adequate, but have nothing.
Right.
In my mind, that's just.
may I speak to that?
Of course.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
go
Hello?
ahead, Carl. Go ahead, Carl.
Okay, I was just gonna say what was I gonna say on? Carolyn, speak. All of a sudden, my mind went blank for a minute.
Okay, well, so the chair at the time was Kyle Grenier. When we were going over this, I think it was in November, he suggested that we set this ethics policy aside because he knew that it wasn't up to date and it needed a lot of changes. So he asked us to set the whole thing aside, and that he was working with someone else, and I think it was Gary. And they, at that time, were intending to bring another policy forward quickly. And I don't honestly know what ever happened to that. And it
Just-
must have been before November because Kyle resigned before then. Anyway, it was Kyle who wanted us to set this aside in the beginning. Other people also spoke about that. So it wasn't just Kyle, but there were a bunch of people who agreed that it needed more work.
Mhm.
Is that what you were thinking, Carl?
Well, I was just gonna address the comment made by Tony. Okay, I think that's where I was, where my mind temporarily. Okay, and that was that, we found we were in conflict with relative to one provision in this policy. And we spoke to our attorney and he said the policy of the zoning administrator was not a contraindicated position within state law, state statute. And that's why we felt justified and temporarily, because the policy needed to be updated anyway, to rescind it. And that's the history on that particular issue. Okay,
Understood.
and then we said we would bring it back. In fact, I think you have copies of what the attorney recommended we send to a news outfit over this whole thing several days ago.
Correct.
That should have been in your packet.
And if I understand correctly, at the moment, that issue has been dealt with. Since our interim zoning administrator is no longer, isn't current.
Correct.
So
So
this
right now,
policy
yeah.
would not have us in violation of anything at this point in
Right.
time. Do we have any other comments that anybody would like to make before we move to vote?
I think the
Good.
motion is just to move it. Is the motion to move it on the agenda or to actually act on it?
I
Reinstall?
believe we already voted on moving it forward on the
Okay.
It's to
agenda.
reinstate.
We are currently voting.
I objected to that because they said the main purpose of this meeting was reorganization, and we would do that after. But I mean, that's my recollection of where we were.
Understood.
I think I just wanted to clarify for Carl that his point of wanting to move it was that while we were hiring people, that we were under a code of ethics before we hired people, and that was his idea about moving it forward before we moved on,
But we're not hiring anybody.
We're appointing officers.
appointing officers. Sorry.
Just, pretty much it's, you guys are appointing yourselves to other boards.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify.
Okay. And so are we ready to vote? Excuse me, let me clarify this. The vote is to reinstate the 2018 Code of Ethics while establishing a committee to review the current Code of Ethics and make suggestions for an updated version. Who is in favor of this motion?
Hi.
Aye.
I
Opposed? Anybody opposed? Carolyn, did you hear the vote?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay, so we have unanimously moved to reinstate our 2018 Code of Ethics.
Did we have somebody second it?
Second.
Sorry. And we will establish a committee, an open committee that will have to be 48 hours, warned 48 hours in advance.
Point of
To-
order.
Yes,
Can the chairman make a motion, or does it have to be somebody from the committee?
on a committee of 5 people, the chairperson is able to make a motion.
Okay.
And so we will be establishing a committee to review and to make suggestions for future updates. All right, let us move on to appointing officers.
Can we go back to whether or not we're approving APO1? Or what are we doing?
I was
Oh,
giving him time to go through those.
Okay.
Oh,
I figured he would have a little time to search through those before we.
would you, do you feel like you're ready
Oh,
to
I'm-
make a suggestion with that?
No.
No. Then let's try to save us a little bit of time and go through the appointing the officers. No, thank you. And so if you guide me through this, I'm told it's kind of a one-off sort of thing.
Well, it's a first time for.
Okay.
For me too, so. Okay, so, the need to nominate a select board chair for 1 year, we're actually looking to hire that position.
Okay.
So, I was there. So it's pretty much if you just want to read what's in the black. And then, I put the person's names that will be being nominated.
All right.
And then I just need to fill in who's second, and I kind of, if I had to make a correction, I put a correction, so.
All right.
So we'll go through it.
All right, so our first position is nominating a development review board member for three-year terms. The motion has been made for a 4-year term. Thank you. The motion has been made to nominate Lisa Barr as a development review board member for a 4-year term, made by, would somebody like to make the motion? Is that,
So you need a motion to nominate Lisa Barr,
oh, so I am making the motion.
or you can say, I need a motion. You can say, I need a motion to nominate Lisa Barr
Thank you.
or as a development review board member for 4 years, for a 4-year term.
All right,
So who would make that
so
motion?
I would need, I'll make the motion. I make the motion to nominate Lisa Farr for Development Review Board for a 4-year term. And I will need a second.
I second.
And do we have any further discussion? No further discussion?
Yeah, has anybody talked to her about doing
Yeah,
this?
I
Has she
did.
agreed to do it?
Yeah, she's currently on the board, her term expired, and she is willing to serve again.
All right. Is there
Okay,
any further
so
discussion?
I mean, it seems like some of you have a lot more information than I do about this. I don't know this lady. I don't know if she's agreed to serve.
She has agreed, she is on the board.
Okay, okay.
So
Alright.
this is what you read here. You need a
Alright.
motion to appoint.
Okay, I need a motion to appoint Development Review Board alternates for a 1-year term. Would
So-
somebody be willing to make a motion to nominate Tony
Timeline.
Heinlein and Larry Martell?
Do they agree to serve?
I'll make that motion.
You'll make that motion?
But I don't think we finished the last motion. I don't think we actually.
I don't think we
voted on it.
did. No, we didn't. So, who is in favor of let's move back to the first motion. Who is in favor of the first motion?
Of Lisa? Yeah, okay. Yes,
Yes. I have a
And-
question.
yeah.
Is Martell still in real estate? Because isn't that a conflict of interest and appointments can't have conflicts of interest?
We have moved back to the first motion. We were just going to vote that in, and then we'll get to the second motion. Did anybody else have a question regarding to in relation to the first motion? Suzanne?
We're lumping these together, there are two open positions. Do you want to lump them together? You've already got a motion on the floor. Go ahead and vote on it.
All right,
There's another-
so let us vote on the first motion for Lisa Farr. Four, thank you. Who is in favor? Aye.
I,
Anybody opposed? Nobody is opposed. Okay. I need a motion to appoint the Development Review Board alternates for a one-year term. Tony Heinlein and Larry Martell. Would somebody be willing to make that motion?
I will. I move that motion.
Wasn't there a question about Larry?
You have to-
Yes, I mean, now we can.
Yes. Do we have a second?
Aye.
Shannon seconds. Now we'll go to questions. And so your question was?
Is when you appoint people, aren't they not supposed to have a conflict of interest? I think I remember one of the things was real estate agents or developers could serve on a planning commission if they were voted, but if they're elected or if they're appointed by the select board, I thought they couldn't be realtor, the developers, et cetera, because I thought that was a conflict of interest.
Generally, Larry almost never is used because he is an alternate, but we would not call him for a hearing that he was involved in somehow, whether he sold the property or was, part of the project. And I think we've had engineers and realtors on our board in the past, and that's the way it works. They recuse themselves if they're involved in the project.
Was that as a DRB or a planning commission? Because well, I don't think they're supposed to. I think it's right in statutory requirements that they're not supposed to have a conflict of interest. So I think that should be looked at.
Okay.
Okay, we'll look into this.
So
Do we have any other questions? Did Larry and Tony agree to take on the position?
Tony has.
All right,
Do we have to
But-
look at this
but we'll
question
have
answered
to-
on Larry before
We do.
appointed?
we do. So are we able to, do we need to
I can separate the two.
to separate the two? Exactly.
I move, I amend my motion that we nominate Tony Highline as one of the alternatives or alternates.
Okay. Okay, and so you will second that, Shannon? All right, and we know that Tony has accepted the appointment. Are there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Are you, let's see. Who is in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, then Tony has been nominated. I need a motion to appoint two people to the planning commission for a one-year term. The motion for
No, 4-year term.
for a four-year term,
No, will be the remainder of,
the remainder of a four-year term.
Well, what I have here is that Chris sent me was to renew for 4-year terms for 2 of them.
those are elected positions, so they are appointed until the next election.
All right. So we need a motion to appoint two people. And we are appointing them for the next year.
Yes, until the next election.
So we're appointing two people for a one-year period to fill a four-year term for 1 year.
Then these are the names here.
Right.
We're going for Annette and Tom. Or Fred and Peter.
I didn't
It
give you
looks
any names,
like
so.
Fred
I
is-
didn't-
Yeah, I'm just going by the email I got
From who?
from Chris.
Chris,
You're on the-
Bouchard.
Chris Bouchard?
Oh,
Is
wait a minute, that's-
conservation.
okay, sorry.
I'm so confused.
So am I, sorry.
Devin, I don't see why any of these are urgent to be done
Wait a minute.
tonight. We could,
Sorry,
can you
Carol was
hear-
saying something and I can't hear it.
Carolyn, yes.
yeah, Devin, I just wanted to say, I don't see why any of these are urgent to be done tonight. why don't we take 10 of them or 5 of them and do them tonight and then do that same number every night until that we meet until they all get done. I don't see that these are urgent to do today.
No, thank you very much.
So Susanna, give me the names on yours.
Did you
If
hear
would
me,
like-
Devin?
I hear what you're saying, Carolyn. If you would like to make a motion, then we can definitely do that. But I think
Yeah,
that
okay.
the folks here would like us to try to get through as many of these as possible.
I'm sure there would, but you know, we're not getting very far here.
I
I
recognize that a lot of us are winning the ropes.
I'm sort of glad I didn't get elected chair. Devin, you're
Okay,
doing a
so
good
Susanna-
job. But, so
I
Susanna-
appreciate it.
I have a
Susanna just told
motion.
me that
Mhm.
she did confirm.
You have a question? You have a motion?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I move that we take the next 10 and act on them tonight and then act on further 10 each night until we get them all done.
So the
How many
mo,
are
a lot.
And that motion needs a second, but none of these nominations need
Here we
seconds.
go. 7, 23, there's 26.
Altogether, you said.
Let's
Yep,
just do it.
altogether.
We've done.
So in
several.
3 nights, we'd be done.
Let's just do it.
Let's just, yeah. I think
All
so.
right.
But the motion has been made. Would anybody like to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Oh, yes.
Some of these positions, planning, DRB, they have hearings on the table that need action,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and they need the full board. If you don't act on some of these things, they automatically get processed
Mhm.
as affirmative.
Yeah.
So she needs a full board.
I think we're through the DRB and the planning now, but in the 10, a number of 10 ones to do, right? But if not, I understand where you're coming from.
Carolyn, I think that we understand that it is going to take a long time, but I think that people want to be able to have all of their seats filled and functioning as they should in a timely manner. And if we're meeting every other week, then it'll take quite a while for them to have their
That would be in board.
boards.
The previous board called meetings
Hold on,
when
let's make
it was
let's make
necessary. We had quite a few
separate
special
motion.
meetings for exactly that reason.
we'll
So,
be able to
I
do
mean,
that.
That's all right, but let's quicken it up. For one thing, none of the nominations need to be seconded. So that would shorten things up a little bit.
Okay, she said none of the nominations.
None of the nominations need to be seconded.
No.
With our Robert rules, person with the Robert rules open, that's correct. Okay, then we will do that. But let's vote on your motion, on your motion. Do we vote to just do the next 10? Who is in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so feel free to make the motion again if it feels like it's going too long, but let's try to get through a few more of these. So where were we?
Okay, so there is no one for, yeah, so let's finish the DRB.
Thank you.
Let's finish the last one on shop.
So we're going to I need a motion to nominate to the Development Review Board a member for a 4-year term, and that would be Chuck Cross. Would anybody be willing to make that motion?
Don't move.
And do we have, did Chuck accept?
Yeah.
Chuck is accepted. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, no.
If there is no further discussion, who is in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then,
So planning, you'll come back with, if we get some people for planning, there's no people for planning.
no people
right
for
now.
planning, okay?
So this one here,
I will need a motion to appoint a person to, as tree warden for a 1-year term, that would be Rick Nye, who is currently tree warden. We'll be appointing Rick again.
So moved.
Any discussion? Has Rick accepted the position?
he hasn't gotten back to me, but his wife said it was okay.
Good enough for me. All in favor? Aye. There are positions called fence watchers. That's probably the best I can add. That's the best answer I have for you.
Yeah, I have somebody trying to answer the question.
Yes,
allowed to decide what trees are cut on town property.
okay.
And a fence viewer is somebody,
Public land.
Okay.
and a fence viewer is somebody who decides about, who used to decide a border boundary dispute.
Thank you for your, this is the reason why it's good to have more than one people in a room. All right, and so we have, did we vote on the motion to appoint?
Yeah.
Thank you. Then our next,
I think we had all in favor.
yeah, all were in favor. This is another motion, correct?
So this is your motion here, number 5.
Thank you. I need a motion to appoint 3 people to represent Georgia's industrial, be representatives on Georgia's Industrial Development Corporation Board. For, is that 1 year?
Need 2 of them for 1-year term.
2 for a 1-year term and 1 for a 3-year term.
And so we have the 3-year, so we need, and we have Kent Henderson who was voted in. So
Okay.
now we need 2 more board members. Carl is previously on that board, and then another would be one of you 3
Okay,
that would need to serve on the board.
all right. So it'll be one of us who would be willing to serve on the Industrial Development
Yep, that's
Corporation.
Carl.
I'd be one of them.
You would be one of them, yes. You would need 1 more.
What does that board do?
You had a very good meal in January.
Yes.
No, no, I mean, basically, this board is in charge of the water treatment plant down in the industrial park, as well as trying to develop 1 or 2 vacant lots. How many do we have? 2 now still? Tell me, 1. 1, okay, in the industrial park, okay. You know where that is? We're
Yeah,
we're in Parago.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
I don't know if
That's-
I'm the
that's-
appropriate lady for the job.
What about?
Either one of you?
You, Jamie, do you
I'll
feel
step up
comfortable
if
with
you-
that? I'll step up if you.
I mean, I don't mind. I really don't.
That's the reason why I'll step up.
It doesn't matter to me.
So you're volunteering yourself?
Sure.
Jamie has volunteered himself to be the second there.
So Devin, I'd just like to point out that here we go again, the board is electing themselves to another position. So we got just within a week into a lot of trouble doing this, and
Okay, how do we do
wanna
this
say
otherwise?
I don't know.
The
They're being
So
appointed.
Carolyn, these are the representatives that the board normally has on the other committees that we're doing right now.
I understand, and I think it's appropriate, but it's still, the board is electing itself to be on a position, and that
Those boards be
was a
nominating people?
Is it appropriate to nominate somebody who is not on the board to fill those positions?
You can, but we have them already. Right, and then the board.
So are you
nominates-
saying-
Okay, so you're suggesting,
Correct. 2 select board should be on the board, 2 from planning commission. And it goes right down the line. And that's how.
so the bylaws stipulate that that's how we have to do it.
Yeah, Carolyn, did you hear that?
no, no,
Okay. it
I'm
says that
sorry.
That's okay. It says that we have to have select board members on these committees.
But should the select board be choosing themselves, or should someone else be choosing the respective, like, should the respective boards be asking, I don't know, I'm just
The
interpreting.
select board can choose themselves.
Yeah.
That's they choose the person they think is the most.
All right, so I think that question has been answered.
Well, let's see. Carolyn, do you want to be on that board?
no.
Um,
No, I got
do
enough
we
stuff
have any
going on.
further-
Plus, I'm trying to get better
okay.
here. Main objective, but I
Do you
can't
have any other suggestions, Carolyn, on how to do this?
well, we could advertise. We could say, look, the board's looking for somebody or some number of people to serve on the water quality. It's a water treatment plant. And see what you get for a response. That's
Sure.
my only thought.
Yeah, but this is by essentially the set of rules of the, what do you call it? Bylaws of the organization, which is GIDC, Georgia Industrial Development Corporation. And traditionally, what we've done is gone by their bylaws, and usually if we had a regular town meeting, we would have appointed, somebody would have gotten up and appointed or suggested we appoint Kent Henderson to
Yeah.
that position. Okay, we got enough people to write him in, so he is one of those people, okay? Now, the other is by bylaws to members of the select board. And I volunteered to be
Mhm.
on there again, okay, I think somebody else,
Jamie.
okay, Jamie, okay. So I think that's the way it goes, I mean, I don't think it's a problem, we wouldn't advertise because they're supposed to be members of the board, Jim Carolyn, okay.
I believe it was set up.
Well,
Right.
eh,
Boarding.
Be aware of what is going on
need.
in
So
You don't want to attend the meeting, though?
to clarify, we already have two people who are serving who are non-select board members. And that is Jim Driver and Kent Henderson. So right now, what we're just doing is voting in the select board members who will accompany them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So if we have no further discussion, shall we move to vote Carl and Jamie in as representatives to the Industrial Development Corporation Board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right,
I am on that board also. Dusty knows about it.
enjoy the dinner.
You can get on the next one.
All right,
Right.
I'm gonna need a motion to appoint people to the Georgia Community Events Committee
Oh, yeah.
for a 1-year term. The current committee members are Cheryl, Letourneau, thank you. Dawn Penny, Jessica Fick, and Bike, thank you, and Katie Driver. Matt Dow, Stacy Davis, Sarah Savage, Savich, thank you. And for 1 year,
Nope, we still have more names.
oh, got more names. Candace Fulbrook, Cara Bryce Parrott,
You
Cheryl,
already did those.
already did those. Jessica
Did
did
that
that too. Judy Wilson, did that one. Matt Dow, Sarah did that. Do we did do, and Stacy Davis, and Shannon Jenkins. Do we have, would anybody be willing to make the motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I need a motion to appoint a animal control officer and an assistant animal control officer for a 1-year term, and that would be Jim Benson.
Jim Benson. And so first you want Deanna Never is the real one.
All right, Dana Never. And
He's gonna be the alternate.
the alternate will be Jim Benson.
So moved.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 We're on number 9.
Number 7, we don't have a town service officer. We don't have to have one.
We need a motion to appoint 2 people as Georgia representatives to the Northwest Regional Planning Commission for a 1-year term. The current representative is Kirk White, and we need a board member, and I would be willing to volunteer for that.
Okay.
Wait,
Kurt White,
Longtime board chair for many years.
Yeah.
all right. And so would somebody be willing to make that motion other than me?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I'm going to need a motion to appoint a representative to the Northwest Regional Planning Commission Transportation Advisory Committee. This is a board member.
Yeah, I just.
Do we have a board member? No, you're already serving on one. Do we have a board member who is willing to step up and serve on this committee?
What is it, transportation?
Yes, this would be the Transportation Advisory Committee.
Kyle was the person who was serving prior, and he was not replaced, as far as I recall.
He's not.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is Carolyn on any committee yet?
Well, Carolyn's currently serving as state representative. I don't know if she has the
She's not
time
allowed
to
to.
do that. No,
I
she's
don't have
allowed.
time. I don't
Okay.
have time.
How many more committees are there?
So with that one right there, I don't believe it needs to be a select board member, and I believe when I had talked to Kyle, he said he was gonna suggest that it wasn't a select board member.
Okay, that's very useful information.
Yeah.
Susanna?
You wanna do it?
I do it.
Susanna
yeah.
has volunteered. Thank you so much.
Is that okay?
She has multiple hats.
You're done?
I need a motion to nominate Susanna Brown to the Transportation Advisory.
So moved.
Any discussion?
I'm still on.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Carolyn? Aye, all right.
Yeah.
I need a motion to appoint a representative to the Northwest Communications Unified District. And 2 alternatives for a term of 1 year. We're going to need a board member for this one as well.
Jamie just raised his hand.
Jamie, okay?
No, you gotta write a minute.
Okay.
Their initial. I trust you.
And as representative, we have Zachary Burdick.
Yes. Verdict.
Burdick, thank you. Much, and we're gonna need a second alternative. Do we have a second alternative?
Does it have to be a board member?
No,
It can be
give me,
a registered voter, right?
we can hold that one off for later if we don't have anybody.
Okay.
As long
Um,
as we get
Yeah.
Jamie.
Yeah, as long as we have Jamie down. So a motion to nominate Jamie and Zachary as representatives to the Northwest Communications Unified District.
This is our Jamie.
Yeah.
Yes, RJ.
Yeah.
So moved.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, we need a motion to appoint 2 people to a 4-year term and 1 person who already did.
So, one already did, so the conservation, this is where Fred and Peter come in, and then 2 alternate members.
All right, so so this is all for a 4-year term?
No, so Fred is for a 4-year term, Peter is for a 4-year term. And the alternate members are existing terms till 2025.
All right. So the motion is to appoint Fred Grimm for a 4-year term, Peter Missouric to a 4-year term, and Annette Villani and Tom Hargreaves to a term that expire to 2 terms that expire in 2025.
Cheryl, FYI, the bylaws say the alternates are appointed for the same term as the regular members, 4 years.
No, I'm just going by what he gave me.
4 years.
So he's just got expires 2025 on here.
Well, that's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same, yeah.
No, we're at 23, but 2 years.
Can we just adjust the wording? We're allowed to do that? All right, so the members and the alternates for 4-year terms. Can I have a motion would somebody be willing to make a motion?
Can you give those names again?
Yes, so the motion is to appoint 2 people to a 4-year term on the Conservation Commission. That would be Fred Grimm and Peter Missouric. And their alternates would be Annette Villani and Tom Hargreaves.
So moved.
Fred, did you have a comment about that? No? Okay.
Well, my only thought was the alternates would probably switch terms, but one would probably be this year up and then another would be, so it probably wouldn't be both 4-year terms, it would probably be a remainder of a 4 and one would be probably maybe a 4.
Any discussion? Oh, sorry, that is discussion.
Yeah.
Cheryl has her hand up.
No, I'm not.
Here, they're fine. Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Alrighty. We need a motion to appoint a representative to Northwest Solid Waste District for a 1-year term. The current representative is Paul Lambert, and he is willing to serve again.
So moved.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 We need a motion to appoint all select board members as authorized signers to town warrants for a 1-year term.
That's what the current select board did, all members, but I don't think you're obligated to do all, but you know, that's probably the safest way, but anyway.
Gives us redundancy. And so is anybody willing to make the motion?
So
I mean, I'll make the motion.
Sorry, yep.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye. All right. We need a motion to appoint town's primary legal counsel, and you're gonna have to help me with that one. Stitzel, Page and Fletcher, which is the primary legal counsel, and Kimball and Doral as town secondary legal counsel for 1-year terms. Would anybody be willing to make a motion?
So move.
Second, I mean, don't need a second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
We need a motion to set the official paper for the town of St. Albans. Excuse me, we need a motion to set the official paper for our town. Currently, the St. Albans Messenger is that paper. And the Milton Independent is our emergency backup. Would anybody be willing to make that motion?
So move.
Do we have any discussion? Does anybody feel there's a better paper? Susanna?
I don't know if there's a better paper, but it's a horrible situation where you have to post stuff so far ahead because they only print on certain days of the week, and it's not a well-read paper. It's not it doesn't have a lot of information in it, so why do people even want it? I don't know if the County Courier is better, 7 Days is better, something's gotta be better. I would ask the board to investigate other options. I don't care if you appoint them today at this time. I don't know how the Milton Independent can legally be your backup because they don't even print a paper anymore, so I think that's probably not even valid. But appoint the St. Albans Messenger for today and also ask somebody to look into better options.
All right.
I'll amend my motion to that.
Okay. So the motion has been made to set the town paper. Currently it's the St. Albans Messenger, but we will investigate better options for the future. Any discussion on the motion as it currently stands? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Carolyn. I feel like I'm going slow.
Yeah,
It's probably just internet lag.
We're almost done, I think.
All right.
we're getting there.
We need to make a motion to charge for town equipment at the State Agency of Transportation rate, unless it is a FEMA project. If it is a FEMA project, FEMA rates will be charged.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We need to make a motion to set animal control fines based on the current fine schedule. That's it.
You can do that for now and then jack them up later. You don't have to keep them the same, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't take.
I will make the motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Per 24 VSA, I don't know how to pronounce that. We need to make a motion to reaffirm the current select board policies, rules of procedures, and the meeting schedule of the second and fourth Mondays at 6 p.m. every month, utilizing the agenda now in place. And we need to change the meeting time in the policy.
Yep, so it's a 7, we got 6 there, 6.
Okay, so we're meeting at 7 from now on?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so currently it's set for 7, we're changing it to 6. Anybody willing to make a motion? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Well, we already did the ethics policy.
Yeah, that one's done.
As the office of lister and board of listers have been eliminated by positive vote at town meeting, state statutes allow the select board to appoint and professionally qualified assessor who shall have the same powers and discharge the same duties under the provisions of Title 32. That assessor does not need to be a resident of the town. The appointment is for 1 year until the next annual meeting. The current assessor is Hinneman Assessments. Would anybody be LLC? Would anybody be willing to make that motion?
Just a question on that. Is the contract the same at this point with him? Has he given us a?
He said he didn't want to come and discuss his contact till the 27th, so it's done in
Okay, so
April.
until such time as an updated contract is what.
Would we be willing to hold this off until then?
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll just set this aside.
Okay.
All right. Almost done. 3 more. We need to make a motion to set forth the following wage for Planning Commission Development Review Board and the Board of Civil Authorities. The motion is made, we need a motion to set forth the following wages of the Planning Commission Development Review Board and Board of City Authorities. Compensation shall be set at $20 per meeting attended as per policy. That board members will not be paid for meetings where they are representing themselves or other parties. Would somebody be willing to make that motion?
Is that the amount that it was before, and that's the standard?
But
Okay.
nowadays, since.
Perfect.
2,000 years ago. So moved. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 We need to make a motion to set the wages for moderator and the parliamentarian at the minimum wage rate. The motion is made to set the those wage rates for minimum wage rate. Oh, that's just redundant. Would somebody be willing to make the motion?
I so moved.
Any discussion?
Why
All in
do we,
favor?
why do we
Oh.
need, why do we need to do this?
Why do
minimum-
we need to set it at the minimum wage?
Yeah,
I do not know.
What is it now?
It says minimum wage. I mean, whatever the minimum wage in Vermont currently is. It's what, 18, it's 11. Geez.
12.50. I think.
Yeah,
Oh, right, it did just go up.
yeah. So are you suggesting, Carolyn, that maybe we might want to change
Skip.
that?
I want to skip over it until we have a good reason why we should do it.
Makes
What
sense
is
to me.
it? What is
Well,
it?
Amber
That's
can
what I would
probably
call
answer that.
You withdraw your motion? It makes sense to me. So
Amber, do
you-
you know why we pay the moderator minimum wage?
Practice been doing it for 19+ years. I don't know.
Well, it's not true. I mean, most of the time I don't get a check, and if I do get a check, then I don't sign it. I mean, I rarely get a check. Well, of course, on the years that we don't have town meeting, that settles that, but
What's your
Here-
suggestion, Carolyn?
I'm the moderator. I've been the moderator for
I
about
know.
20 years. So I would like to not get paid, officially not get, just like I don't get paid for select board. I don't want a check. I don't want the town writing me a check.
You can choose to take the paycheck.
I have been, Susanna. I don't sign the checks, but I'm just saying that this would
You would
save
prefer to
us.
have it officially on the books.
But
Thank you. Yes, Devin.
Do we, as a point of policy, need to pay the moderator? If the moderator is willing to forego payment?
no, you don't have to pay them. If
Okay.
they're willing to forego. And she's been elected for the next year, so you're good for this.
All right,
coming year.
so shall we amend the
What is
motion?
that? Fred wanted to-
Yes, sorry, you're,
My question would be, like, when I was on the school board, they had a set rate for that position. And you could forego it and just give it back to the coffers, which she's welcome to do. My point is why would you change procedure year
Yeah.
to year? Because you might have something where she needs to drop down his position and then the next person
Isn't getting
then
a
just.
check.
they didn't get it
Right.
check. Did you hear that, Carolyn?
I don't want to get paid for it. I mean, but beyond my personal wishes, I don't understand why we are paying the moderator at all. I don't think there's anything that requires us to pay the moderator.
I move.
If there
we no
is.
longer pay the Moderator.
Yeah,
Yes.
You're paying board members to come $20 a meeting.
for a one shot. Now we're talking about a minimum wage for 6 hours, 8 hours or something like that. Maybe you want to standardize what the town pays for different things for something like that, that it's a stipend and not an hourly wage for this particular position.
Is it an hourly wage because the moderator does town meeting day and sometimes it's a really long?
It's based off of meeting.
I don't know.
KRB meeting, and see how long they are.
But I don't know, it doesn't say, it's $20 per meeting. You go to a meeting, you get $20. Carl.
Yeah, I think we had suggested that we would go to a stipend, but I think the boards both preferred that we stayed with the amount per meeting. Now, am I incorrect in that?
You are correct.
Okay.
But in this case, it's minimum wage, so you get like $12 per meeting. So the suggestion was, are we comfortable standardizing them all to
Well,
$20?
And how would we
Nothing.
forego, right, how would we forego Carolyn's?
She just tells us she doesn't want it. Right,
Gives the check back.
yeah, Carolyn, can we,
or she gives us permission not to give her the check.
yeah, can we just have it still in our procedure that they're paid? But you go on the record as saying
Yeah,
that you're not receiving the payment and that you'd like it to go back to the town.
I think this is the third year in a row I've had to do this, and I apologize that it's taking so much time. But all of these little items are, have their own controversies. And
Yeah.
I just, it drives me nuts. And plus, we were going through, each of these things and automatically making a motion and all those in favor. But you need to think about each one. You can't just vote yes or no. Each one has its own argument for and against. And maybe the next moderator, whoever that is, would want to get paid, but I don't. And I just want to make that clear.
All right.
Same being a select board member, I don't get paid for select board either.
Carl.
Since this seems to, Beth has made a recommendation, should we assign this to two members of the Personnel and Policy Committee, or not committee?
Oh.
Those people, okay, all right.
Task force.
Task force.
Idea.
Okay, all
I
right,
like that idea.
and come back with a recommendation, okay.
All right, so let us put this into, you're amending your motion to send this to the Personnel and Policy Task Force.
Correct.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. We need a motion to, oh, that's already done. Okay,
Last one.
yeah, per 24 VSA, section 1953 and 1954, the select board shall consider the fire chief's written recommendation to appoint fire officers as follows. From Chief Keith Baker, first assistant chief, Patrick King, second assistant chief, Jamie Cota, captain, Eric Couture, first lieutenant, and Michael Baker, second lieutenant, and Jamerson Barber. And so would somebody be willing to make that motion?
Is this the recommendation of the chief?
He's right.
Yeah, right here, but it is.
Okay.
One, there's a question back of you.
I had a question, with the new position getting hired, is one of those positions gonna be the position getting hired, or is it gonna be we're adding another officer position? Or they're gonna be a non-officer position that's making 40 hours and more than everybody else does?
It's a non-officer position.
But they're gonna have more training and more experience than everybody else there. I think
Not
they've been off-
necessarily.
they're gonna pay more.
How would they have more? They're gonna attend the same trainings as everybody else, but I mean, they have the same opportunity for trainings that all the other people will have.
But isn't most of their duties officer duties? I mean, I think the list of officer duties would have.
Administrative duties, not necessarily officer duties.
I just think it's redundant.
I move the recommendation of the chief.
Any further discussion?
I'll second
favor?
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Second that.
all right.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
we are done with appointments for this evening. Let me just make sure that there's not something
Yeah,
else.
that was just for me.
All right.
Now you can go back to the warning, or the warrant, if Jamie's done
If
that.
you're done,
Not done. It seems like a lot. I think we should probably put a little more effort into it.
Yeah, is there a way to do it? Have it be this portion postponed so that he can sit in a quiet place and go through?
Well, the bills
And
won't
make
get paid. We won't be able to
So we gotta
send
do
out
it.
checks.
And they're due tomorrow, the bill is,
Well, normally we'll have the meeting, the warrant gets
Mhm,
signed,
mhm.
the checks get
Mhm.
done tomorrow, and then Amber comes in and signs them.
can we make any adjustments later on, DB?
No. You
can make adjustments to the GL, but once you approve the warrant for being paid, the second warrant will be paid 7 now.
Okay,
So have each one of those been signed off from by a department head at this point?
They haven't been, but we've reviewed them and I have reviewed them at that. But I don't know.
and you're comfortable with them?
I'm very comfortable with
Okay,
I wouldn't turn mine in if I wasn't.
okay. How do you feel about that, Jamie? I think,
I mean, they've been doing it longer than I have.
okay. Then let's move forward with the motion. We want people to be able to get paid. Let's wait for Carl.
Are you familiar with the process of, per se, all those bills come to the department heads to be signed off on before all that process happens?
I think going forward,
I'm not trying to.
no, you're
I
good,
just
you're
wanna
good.
make sure. So, like, he talked about the highway.
Sure.
Fire department bills, I'm not sure if there are any this time, but they all come to the department heads to be signed off and coded as to where they would go in our budget.
Mhm.
And then the process that you're doing kind of occurs type of thing. So we typically see them before it even, gets there. so to speak.
Sure, I mean, like going forward, I think what we're gonna do is, Carl and I will have to sit down and kind of go over them, or it's Carolyn, sorry. And just, it's gonna be a fire hose for me real fast.
That seems like,
Yeah,
that seems like more than normal.
yeah, oh, good, that's good.
So we're moving, yes, Carl.
I'm sorry, is there a motion on the table?
We are going to be moving to approve the warrants.
Okay, can I
Yes,
just give you my comment on it? I would recommend that we have either Jamie or Carolyn review this and give us then at a board meeting a motion to approve the warrant, and then the rest of us would sign based on their attestation, unless we wanted to review in detail the
Great.
bills. That's my recommendation.
I see
My
what you mean.
But then we would sign, what's that?
I was gonna recommend that your AP warrant, your invoice edit list be in your packet and that you can at least see it, because I wouldn't personally sign anything
Yeah.
without.
Without seeing it at
reviewing
all.
Right,
yeah,
If we were to do that, would we still be able to make sure that everything got signed and that everybody got paid on time?
You still have to sign a warrant the
Okay,
night of the meeting.
okay.
okay.
So you're all
I
okay
appreciate
with this
Amber's
recommendation? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
including what she said.
okay. Then Carl has made a motion. Would anybody be willing to second?
Aye.
All in favor, discussion?
We're gonna include her comment that
Okay.
she said they would be in the packet.
I think it should be just.
Yeah,
for-
okay, I agree.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
So are we approving number
Yes.
one? We didn't say we're approving number one, AP warrant.
we,
All right.
He approved, he made a motion for something else. not
Okay,
Right.
approve AP.
and so now to the motion to approve the AP warrant.
so going off of Amber's expert advice,
Right.
No problem with that.
we're approving this.
Yes,
Okay, so make a motion to approve it, right?
I make a motion to approve.
all right, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, discussion. Not seeing any discussion, getting better at that. All in favor?
Aye.
And now we have a little bit of time for public comment.
I think
Yes, right,
Terry
that's fine.
is the,
Thank
sorry,
you.
What, did I do that wrong?
Well, no, I'm just saying that Terry is on the agenda.
Public comment.
Yeah,
Yes, oh,
so before we
so
go to
let's,
Frank.
yes. Harry should be able to go first, yes.
I'm right here. In lieu of, agenda item number 8, the response to Vermont Digger. And after a lot of discussion on Facebook about the DEI, the diversity, equality, and inclusion statement, I would like you as a board to consider finding whether it's one that you make up yourself or one that is 2 sentences long from the state of Vermont. I would ask you to consider signing one.
Can I respond? Is that okay? Can I respond?
During comments, do Robert's rules still apply, or are we in open session?
It's more of a conversation.
Okay,
I obviously want to sign on to the Phil Scott initiative of every town signs on to the same diversity, equity, inclusion statement. So we have a cohesive movement moving forward. I think what does need to happen, though, is that there needs to be an informational session for people to get more information about what it is the goal is, some of the reasons why we're signing on, and how this will impact us and those who we're talking about if we don't feel included in the who it's geared toward, so that we all can move forward together, having the same information and all being well informed before we make a decision. I think some people aren't understanding the breadth of the issue and what the goal is. And so I would like to, as a board, have someone come to a public forum, an outside person, somebody, not myself or somebody else on the board, to speak to the town, to give them the information, and then we can move forward. It seemed very controversial, and I don't want it to be controversial. I want it to be a cohesive movement that we all feel good about. And so that's my suggestion as just one board member, is that we have an informational session, that we're moving towards signing the diversity, equity, and inclusion statement, and that we're all on the same level in terms of our information.
And I know there was some discussion about whether or not your bylaws or whatever rules that you're going by might not adhere to such a statement. And I would volunteer wholeheartedly to go through something like that as a committee, as part of the committee, to be sure that all the bylaws do adhere to such a statement.
I think if our bylaws intercede in any way, we can adopt a policy that's unique to the town. But in my experience, what Shannon said is correct. Adopting policies like this, unfortunately, can lead to a lot of division. I think it is absolutely worth opening it up to discussion with the town so that we can all get on the same page about what exactly a policy statement like this is for, and what it does, and who it affects, and why we would even want to do it.
And with that said, the next agenda item, I would hope that if you're going to respond to Vermont Digger, that it would be a similar statement that you just made. So that,
Just a
I
clarification.
think
So
that,
Vermont Digger wasn't for DEI.
yeah,
Oh,
nothing to do with
Oh, okay.
DEI, had to do with
okay,
the
but
That was a
conflict
different
of
meeting.
interest policy, okay, had to do with
Okay.
conflict of interest.
oh, it was 7 days.
That-
I think it was 7 days.
No, it
Well,
was bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just wondering if there could be a statement made by the board to address the statement about not including it in our town.
Including one in our town.
The DEI or a document that would,
Well, I think that would be up to the board to decide at some future meeting, okay? It's
that's
not-
fine.
I think
I'm
that's
just
a
suggesting it.
good suggestion.
Yeah, it's a very good suggestion. I think it's a very good suggestion.
I don't know what the rules are, maybe people more knowledgeable can tell me. I know. How legal is it to attend one of these meetings under a false name?
False name.
Yeah, like using a fake name, like whether you're signing or you're just showing up there with a fake name and you're therefore listed as not who you really are.
Don't know.
Should we,
Sounds like a
Should we
Mission Impossible question.
look
Not
into
to
it?
belittle it.
Well, I mean, I know that guy right there, Jack Cage, has clearly said in the past that that's his fake name and that's not really who he is.
He hasn't said anything though, he hasn't done anything.
No, but the minutes by law are required to list, that's one of the only requirements of minutes actually, is to list who attends. All the other stuff is just fluff.
Frank, excuse me, Devin, did Frank just say there's someone on the screen whose real identity is not what they claim to be?
Currently, Frank said that the Jack Cage currently is not the name of the person who is on the other end of that line.
Huh.
And so if we were to list our minutes, they would be inaccurate.
Is that something that we should go to the lawyer about?
Well, you can ask them to identify themselves.
We
and if they
could.
won't, then you boot them out.
We could. We could.
You can move them out.
We could also, I mean, hate to bring this up, but there is somebody in this room making these accusations who is not a citizen of the United States, so I don't believe that we.
Oh, that's.
I don't
you
think
can
that
ask
that's,
him, though.
yeah, I think that's irrelevant to the issue. Can we ask
Yeah, I mean, I
the
think the
attendee? to-
most, yeah, the most, I think that the courteous thing to do to at least ask is,
Yeah.
if the person on the other end of the line for Jack Cage would be willing to identify themselves.
Excuse me, but if you aren't asking for all of us to have an identification when we come in and show actually who you are, then how can you go ask somebody else to do the same thing, whether they're online or not? I mean, you've got to do the same for everybody. So if you want to make sure we're who we are, then you need to see our driver's license or something when we come in, and they need to go proof that if you're gonna go that deep into things.
Oh, that's a good point. That is a very good point.
I don't think we want to go there.
No, I don't think we want to go there.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Do we have any other discussions?
Are we in public comment?
Yes.
Okay. So, if the minutes could reflect that I'm speaking as a citizen and not as a Conservation Commission member, please. The town signed an agreement to have a fence relocated from trail number 4. And item 2E puts up $20,000 from town's money to help with the relocation of the fence. My problem with this is that the purchasing policy was not followed, in that you need 3 bids when you spend X number of dollars. So I would request that the board revisit this agreement and comply with the purchasing policy that we have on file.
what stage, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. As I talked to Ken about before, it's not a matter of purchasing policy. This is an agreement, a written agreement between 2 parties, okay? And we ended up making an offer to pay up to half or half the price or up to $20,000, okay? All right. So I can't see how it has anything to do with the purchasing policy, because we didn't ask somebody that we're buying something, okay? All right. So.
If I
The
understood.
point is,
Yes.
Carl.
Oh, no, well, you.
Well, I mean, the point is that the town is entering into this agreement with no idea about what this is gonna cost. And the only way you can do that is if you have it bid, like the policy says you should have it bid.
And yes, I'm sorry.
Heather.
Heather.
I hope I'm remembering correctly, but I believe that I asked this question on the informational night and I was clearly told, at least from my memories, I don't have the paper or transcript in front of me, that it was put out to bid.
I heard the same thing.
So I guess I want a clarification if it did go out to bid or not, because that's the answer I received as a town person.
Carl, yeah, if we put out to bid 3 alternatives on the relocation of the fence. Now, we didn't put it out to 3 people because we considered it informational and a reference point, if you will. And we got back, there are 3 scenarios that came back on that proposal.
Okay, can you tell me, was it 3 different companies?
No, I'm not. So we
So-
didn't, but if my point is that it was just to give us a reference point to know approximately how much we could go to essentially solve this issue that's going on for 10 years, okay?
And if I understand correctly, we still actually have a little bit of time before we officially have to, put our heads down and address this issue.
what
That's
stage are
incorrect
we-
as far as I know. There's a signed agreement with Rice Realty to move the fence. What's that? Yeah, so to move the fence by June 30th.
Okay.
And
Is it to move or to remove?
to move,
So you're paying to relocate it?
yes,
Whole argument it was, and then to get it out of the way. Not to reinstall it, but I don't know what you guys came up with, but,
okay.
so you're paying to have the fence put up.
I don't think so. I mean, he's gonna move the fence that people have objected to
He
for
needs,
the last 10 years, okay?
he needs to remove, where he moved it, so
What's that?
he needs to remove it.
Okay, all right, I don't know, we're splitting hairs on this thing and it's, this is public discussion. It's not, we're not gonna make a decision tonight on this anyway, so.
So you have requested that we reconsider the agreement over the fence. And
Fred has a comment.
Fred has,
I guess the original 2018 agreement, to me, my reading of it, I have on my phone if somebody really cared, but it seems like it's probably mute now. If we signed a further agreement now saying we're paying him up to $20,000. Whether the purchasing agreement is followed or not, it seems like if we signed something now, he has legal recourse if we back out of it. So the fact that we signed this, I think, paves the way for having to follow through. Why we did it, I do not know, because according to the 2018 agreement, it said that within a 30-day notice, we could request that he move the fence or remove the fence. It wasn't even reinstall. It was remove the fence and put it back to normal. And if he didn't do it in 30 days, the town could do it and then bill him the price of it and the 12% interest charge, which I don't know why we went and just, I don't know why our lawyer supposedly advised us that it had no teeth, because to me, it was a signed agreement that's recorded saying that all we had to do was send them a written, it had to be written. There was a written notice, move the fence, or we will do it for you at the end of 30 days. We will just pick it up and take it away. And why we're paying him $20,000, I do not know. I do not understand. But I think if we head down this road, we'll probably spend more in legal just trying to fight it or rewrite this agreement or repurchase it than we will if we just call it a wasted poor decision.
all right, so we will definitely look into this and we will do what we are legally able to. It's probably the most political thing that I can say to that. Do we have any other comments that anybody would like to make?
I just have one. I think that Fred made a good point that there's a point where we have to remember we're spending taxpayer dollars. And when you start getting into legal battles, we know who wins.
Right.
Right, I was also told same thing. We've gone too far. We've done it.
Yeah.
And that's the decision. Deal.
And it sounds to me, I don't know much about what it was, but it sounds to me that the previous board or whatever came with this agreement because it was gonna cost the town the least amount of money to get out of a situation that however it happened, however many years it occurred, we can get out of and be done with it so that it's.
Absolutely. You've stated it very well, Brian.
All right. Do we have any other further comments to anybody? Yes.
You're gonna form all these committees and you're gonna,
Passport.
no.
One passport. One passport.
Public forum, which I get, you wanna be transparent, but there are times that you need to just get stuff done.
Right.
Having people go through all those invoices and asking questions is gonna take so much of your time. I suggest you do them all as task force like you did before and just be done with it. If there's something transparent that you really think people need to know, then have a public meeting at that point. You guys are gonna end up being so overwhelmed when people hear all the time.
Do you
I
think that,
believe that you guys did that because
of all the-
you're approving it. You're approving it, and then this is the last look. So why have
well, I-
5 more people look at it instead of like, let's 2, all right, we're gonna go through them, make sure everything's right. I's dotted, T's crossed, okay.
That was my point. I thought I said that we had one person that on the task force, the finance and budget task force, that went through meticulously.
No,
Through-
that task force is only the personnel.
I think,
Not that.
sorry, just to clarify, I think for
Oh,
something
okay.
like the warrants, that it is, that there is a notice that it's going to happen, that he is gonna be going through them, but the assumption is that not everybody's gonna sit there and wanna go through every line.
You don't know that though.
Valid, absolutely.
I'm just telling you because
yeah.
you could end up, people are gonna question things that really shouldn't be questioned
Mhm.
because it's just normal town stuff
Yeah,
that you're gonna have.
right, that we're
things
the
torn
last
apart,
line.
And then
Yeah.
Facebook's gonna be plastered again.
And it's every 2 weeks, you gotta remember. that.
Yeah,
But I,
It's gonna be going through every 2 weeks.
You might want to think this whole committee task force stuff.
I think that there is some validity in some of it. The rec, building and grounds that some people who work in those departments might want to be involved in. What's your comment?
You can continue to talk.
Carl, you had a comment.
yeah, I thought we had made all those, what we at one time called committees, task force to get around that, okay, for the, so my point was that the task force that was assigned to Jamie and Carolyn, that one or the other would do the review of the warrant and then ask others to sign it if they so chose. And Amber had said, well, you probably should have the actual warrant itself, which doesn't mean that it's that whole stack of stuff. It's the warrant and what's the other term called?
The invoice edit list.
The invoice edit list. And let them look at that and sign the warrant. Because I agree, to have everybody look through that thing is just repetitive.
Well, we all have to sign off on it. though.
Right, we do. Okay, and that was her point, that edit list would help people feel more confident in what they're signing off on. Is that correct, Amber?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. But that's my personal feeling. And it used to be Gary would go through all this stuff. He would then recommend approval of the warrant, and then several of us would second it or approve it. Okay, all right, and that's the way it went.
Okay.
There's a question in back.
The more transparent and open stuff gets, the more people are gonna question stuff, whether they understand it, don't understand it, just have a skew. So the more, I mean, I've been watching the select board for probably 20 years, and originally it was, you might see the minutes 6 months later on the website or something if you were lucky, or you had to go ask for them. Now they're posted pretty quickly, and all the meetings are videotaped and stuff, and so the people back 20 years ago hardly questioned anything. It was kind of like 5 people did something in a closed door, and you know, if you came to select board meeting, there was maybe 1 or 2 people here. And the more you get people involved, the more you're gonna have stuff impeding stuff getting done by people not understanding. Not to say that it's not good to have openness and stuff, but you gotta watch what is being sidetracking your attention and your focus, because you don't want to get sidetracked on defend every action you do because people didn't understand why you did it. They just heard some catchphrase, you know, and then run with it. Like, I mean, people are all up over the ethics policy, but yet it wasn't even their suggestion. It wasn't the 5 board members' suggestion to remove it, or somebody else.
Basically, what you're doing is what we voted in town meeting for the budget. What they bought with what we gave them permission to buy? And is the bill correct? And did they spend it and you sign it? That shouldn't be something that I, as a taxpayer, have to go through and listen to. If you don't do your job, you're gonna get voted out.
I don't think that we're requiring people to come and suggest. Right, it's just that it's reported. Right?
We're going to, we're,
You're adding more steps than what needs to be done.
Okay, so for the warrants, we want to close that committee, so it is not a public committee.
just turn on the task force.
That's what I
Yes,
do.
I don't think we need it. I think you're asking for a lot more than what needs to be done as far as that.
Okay, I understand now. I was missing the point.
Now, if I'm correct, any taxpayer can come in and request to see stuff. So if
Right.
they have questions, they can always come in and look themselves.
All these documents are public documents. Anytime
Yeah.
you want to come in and
Yeah.
look.
It's one of those things
So-
where
Or look at it. They-
we're gonna have to trust each other. and-
For transparency's sake, why don't we make a statement saying that we're gonna do this, and by anybody who wants to see the documents, they can, then we'll turn everything into a task force, because it's cool. And that allows us to just get through the work and get
Yeah.
it done.
Okay,
Cause we're gonna be working with the treasurer, right? Like, that's.
right, and you're the last line, so everybody who knows what's going on has already signed off on it, then it goes to the treasurer, and then it's the last
It goes to
line.
the bookkeeper,
Right.
then the treasurer, then you
Okay.
guys, so there is.
There's a lot of.
Basically, number 4 is right here.
Correct. But I was saying all committees are all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
All right, so we can, if there's nothing else to discuss, we can make the motion to amend Carl's motion.
Which I forget what it was, but so.
The motion was to appoint committees and one task force. We'll just edit it so that it is
They're all task.
on task force.
Motion to
I
make
think
all
that's what
committees.
you called it. The same problem.
But the school board.
Can you tell me?
I don't think you will.
Because the school board
I
doesn't.
think it's 310-3.
310-3.
I think so.
Let's get some guidance on it.
Get some guidance on it first.
Well, I mean, on this thing that we'd have to warn all these meetings and all that with.
Right.
Because what we're really trying to do is expedite what happens here in a meeting, so we don't all have to sit like we're doing tonight.
Right.
40 hours
We're
a
brand
week.
new. I'm sorry,
So you don't have to put in 40 hours a week.
that's right.
Because
Okay,
whatever
so
discussed in those task forces comes up here at this
That's
meeting.
exactly it.
And
So, I
that's
mean, that's
why
why.
you don't have to go and warn all of them.
Can
So
we-
this is the
can
first
we-
I've heard of, Susanna bringing that to us, because this is the way, the way business runs, the way committees are run at the school board, right? So I'm very surprised that this is a statute or something, and I think we should study that and get the answer.
but we can warn of a committee meeting for the public if we
Yeah,
so
for
do.
a
cho-
special
so-
thing like
Okay,
DEI, I mean, you want to. do
yeah,
that,
yeah,
that sounds
rec
like a
committee
very appropriate
issues,
thing to do.
okay, great.
All right, so, the motion is made to amend Carl's motion. So that, the committees are task forces. And we will make a general statement inviting anybody who would like to observe, to attend.
Yvonne,
Yes.
there was a motion made earlier for Cheryl to inquire.
Yeah,
about the-
Lawyer.
So I don't think you need to,
Oh,
you're really waiting. for
yeah,
that
yeah, that's
data
true.
Before you do anything.
thank you for the reminder. So we will worry about that after the inquiry. And so,
I just wanted to make it clear that in my motion, I think I was trying to. Include what Heather was saying, we don't want, well,
Thank you.
it wasn't my thought that we'd have people coming in to check over the warrant, that we'd have a member of the. Finance and
Yeah.
Budget Committee do that, okay, I mean, they could do it here at the office if somebody happened to stop by or wanted to know when you're doing it, I guess
Right.
that would be okay. But, that wasn't the intention, at least on my motion, that we'd have the public coming in to examine all the documents, okay?
Right, and it's all public, so if they wanted to, they could enter it.
All right, so feeling like we've, if there is no further discussion, that anybody would like to bring up. I feel we should move forward with the agenda, and the next topic of discussion is the VT Digger response.
You guys have an extra page for the agenda?
We can print one out.
Carl, you have one that's not written on? Mine's all
Well, this
written.
one is written something, but
Your discussion, then they're mine.
And so this is discussion.
What is the VT digger discussion?
My understanding that the VT Digger has asked for the town to comment on the issue regarding our ethics policy.
and we gave them, it's in your packet, and we did do that back last week. So I'm not quite sure why that was there. I think it was just to report on the fact that we had responded to the digger.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's all.
And the previous board had signed off on that comment and their names are on it, or is it this board's comment?
I was a member that signed along with the
Administrator.
I
Okay,
think
so
that,
it's just Carl.
I think that the previous board made the statement because I remember that the reporter contacted each of us individually as new candidates to the board. And so I think that their intention was to get our opinions separate from the previous board's opinion. Do we have anything else that we need to discuss on this issue?
What was the response?
The response
What was
was,
the down response to VT Digger?
is that something that we have?
In your packet, right there.
All right, I will read that for you. We have confirmed with council and been advised it was not improper under Vermont law for the select board to appoint one of its members to serve as the zoning administrator. The planning commission interviewed the candidate and recommended his appointment. Mr. Bergstrom was not present during the board's deliberations and did not participate at its November 28, 2002 meeting. The select board was asked to rescind the conflict of interest in ethics policy and did so. The new board anticipates that at a future meeting, it will revisit the conflict of interest in ethics policy and adopt a new policy that meets the needs of the community. That's
Is that incorrect, though?
Yeah, it isn't for the date.
2002.
This came from the attorney, just so you know.
Thank you. I would not have thought of that.
So I don't think, is that the one we actually sent to the digger or not? Or is that right from her? I think
This
we
one
corrected
came
that.
right
one
from
we
her, and then
sent.
the other one says December 1st on it. Yeah, this is the one that went in before she sent us the other revised one.
So I think that was the date was.
So I think that we can definitely contact the digger and let them know, update them on the 2018 policy. Would that be appropriate?
Update them on what?
Tell them that the statement was slightly off and that we got the date wrong on the,
Oh, no, she already knows that.
She already knows
This
that?
one that was
Yeah.
in the packet, yeah.
okay,
She has the corrected one.
okay, okay. Do we have any other discussion on this issue? Not seeing any, then I think we just need to move forward on the agenda. So, board business, public comments on anything that was done here tonight. We have 5 minutes for anybody. If I got that correctly, we have.
So this is where we're gonna discuss each one of these things now.
Okay,
But not necessarily with, public can comment.
Right.
On a particular issue,
all right,
but we're not just opening it up.
All right, so any-
No, we discuss an issue.
anything that we feel, we get 5 minutes to talk about what we feel about these issues. All right, so we'll be starting with the conflict of interest in ethics policies. If anybody has anything they would like to say, you have 5 minutes on the floor.
I thought we covered that.
Yeah, that
already.
Yeah.
We did,
That one out,
but,
just so you don't have to do
okay, the VSP Milton Arm Care and
it. Uniform.
UniFirst contracts.
So this is where, okay, so this section is where you would be informed on what is in here and present this material to the board.
Okay.
So on this one here, we have contracts that are coming up because they're expiring.
Okay.
So our contract with Vermont State Police is done at the end of April. So this is a contract that is gonna need to be renegotiated.
Mhm.
So that is something that the board is gonna have to work on. We also have the Milton Police Department who gives us coverage
Mhm.
right now. I just received an MOU from them today. So this needs to be gone over and signed. So this all needs to be discussed with the boards.
When is the Milton one?
January. We've been out of contract with them because they were waiting to get their contract signed with their officers. But they have been covering Georgia still the same, so we have
Mhm.
not lapsed in coverage. with
Okay,
them.
so, but their contracts are done. and
Their
now-
contract's done, so this afternoon, they sent me an MOU so that,
Do they have a due date for that one?
as soon as we can get it out there.
Okay.
We also have, AmCare
Mhm.
contract, which will be coming up, at the end of July, so we need to
Okay.
start looking into our options that. I think it would be a really good idea if we consulted with Keith on the AmCare one to have some say,
Mhm.
to point us in a direction that none of us know where we're headed with that one. And then we also have UniFirst, which does our carpets and
Mhm.
our uniforms. That one is expires in April, so we need
Okay.
to get moving on those,
April, what?
the end of April.
End of April.
Do we have any
So-
to approve for tonight? or
We don't have
just-
any.
You're
to
alerting
approve.
us to this.
So you-
So I'm just learning that we need to have, so I'm not sure how you guys want to do that, if we're gonna have two people doing contract negotiations and then bring it back to the board, if the whole board wants to meet. But it's gonna be hard to have the whole board meet with each person to work these contracts with them to do negotiation.
Okay,
So,
Um,
I mean, should we assign this to committee? I think that's what Cheryl's asking. Okay.
Is that what you're asking,
Is-
Cheryl?
Yeah, I mean, who wants to take charge
Okay.
of working
if we
together?
do this, do we want to do this in committees?
That would be my recommendation. I
That'd
think
be your
it would come back to the board with their recommendation. Okay.
Okay,
Task force or committee?
yeah, that's what I was asking. Task force.
Yeah.
If it's a committee, we have to warn it, exactly.
Can't fire.
Assign a person to meet, to negotiate or something.
Or it
Um,
could just be one of you and myself
Yeah. that
that
would
could
do as
meet
well.
with these, and then we would present it back to the board.
Right here.
I did a quick looking for what I could find. I looked in 310-3. Everything seems to say a quorum. So my interpretation is, if you don't have a quorum, you're not a meeting, you can't make any decisions. All you're doing is gathering information to then make a recommendation, bring it back to the board, and the board makes the decision in an open meeting frame. So that basically you're just making a recommendation, gathering information and consolidating it. I don't think that violates open meeting law from what I read. I'd like to see some, direct, if anyone can point to
Okay.
exact,
Well,
exact statute.
the thing we were, what we were informed was that if you appoint a committee, it's not necessarily, what we don't need to worry about is not the quorum of the board. The select board is the quorum of the committee.
But a committee can't make a decision.
Okay,
They're just making a
That's a good
recommendation.
point.
Yeah, what Fred has said has been my understanding for many years. Okay, so, but as I say, Susanna brought up something I certainly was unaware of, and
I think,
I think we already decided we're gonna
Yeah.
ask some counsel on this.
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, okay, great. Thanks, Fred.
So we just, do we want
but
to have?
I think that this
one
does need to be
person?
done pretty quickly. Why don't we have
Or-
one person work with you? To reach out and start negotiations.
Mhm.
That would be my suggestion.
Okay, for these 4 different contracts, do we have somebody within the town also that has an interest or experience with these groups?
Well, of course, the chief.
Well, I know, yeah,
The chief.
that one's done with, well, yeah, I have Keith Baker for.
I'm okay with you guys negotiating that, and if you want me to glance at it, it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to be a part of it.
Right, he's just gonna give us input after we've
Yeah,
got
I-
the stuff.
After,
Right.
Yeah, I don't have to be
Okay.
part of it.
It's up to the
Okay.
board to go.
And that one's not due until July, is that correct? We have.
yeah, end of July.
And is July, but the other ones we need to get working
Yep.
on pronto.
ASAP.
Mhm.
Isn't BSP just reaching out to BSP and asking for their contract, about their dollar amounts?
Thought we just got something from them, didn't we?
They,
The VSP.
to re-sign that if we wanna continue
Oh, okay.
theirs. Yeah,
Does anybody want to review that, what they had sent? Does anybody have an interest? I can do it if nobody else does.
If I was going to choose between Milton or VSP, the folks I know the most of are in VSP, but.
Okay.
I think that you also have some connection. No, your connections are with St. Albans.
Well, I have,
do you wanna work with me on these?
I'd be happy to.
So in the past, we've used both.
Yeah,
Right.
we have both.
Yeah,
You use
Yeah.
both.
Both
Okay.
departments,
Okay.
because we get like 8 hours from
from,
one and 4
Is
hours.
the contract combined or do we need a separate contract?
No,
Two
they're
separate
two different.
Two different
different.
contracts, okay.
Yeah.
So Carl's willing to work on
Which
both of
one?
them, or
on
one?
both.
Yeah, I mean, they're very small contracts each anyway.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, great.
unfortunately, we wish we could get more coverage. but
Right.
We can't, so.
All right,
So, you know,
And then
we'll work with
UniFirst?
both. Carol, is that what you'd like to do? Work on both?
Yeah, if we can just get these, seeing how you've got contract experience.
Hmm.
Okay.
Cause.
So those two, the VSP and Milton, right? Okay. What's UniFirst?
That's
contract?
the carpets and uniforms.
Okay.
I can do that.
You gonna do that one?
Sure.
carpets and uniforms is.
So you and I are working on that. The two police things.
Yeah, Milton and VSP.
All right. Is there anything else on this topic?
And then the AmCare one, is Carl or Shannon, you guys gonna do the AmCare one with me?
I could do AmCare.
Okay.
Can I sit in on the UniFirst one too?
I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah,
Are you going out to bid for ambulance service, or is that where you're gonna come back with a recommendation?
I thought that was a given. Okay.
For what?
I said, are you going to go out to bid for changing your ambulance services?
That I don't know yet.
I'm just curious. I didn't have to specifically just looking at that one, or if you're gonna put out. to bid.
No, I've been speaking with Keith about some
Hmm.
other things, so.
I know a few years back, Fairfax asked if they, the next time it was done, if they could be included in the bid cost. That's why I'm asking.
No,
Who wanted to
I haven't-
include it?
Fairfax.
I've been
Oh,
racking
that's
his
on the
brain for
ambulance.
some others.
Oh, you probably could, just because we're married, us, we can have a conversation about this.
Oh, no, well, we only had it this morning, so. So yes, they were all thinking the same thing,
Yeah.
so.
All right.
just doing it this morning, okay. So, okay, so yes, so we have an ad out there right now for an anticipated treasurer position. So I would just like to be able to put the ad out for the actual position now, with the approval of the board.
is there on our ad, is there a salary or hourly wage posted?
Mhm.
Okay, great.
the range, right?
Yeah, I believe it's
Okay.
like 25 to
25 to
35.
35.
Do we know if it's full time or part time?
So that we're gonna have to do, that would be a good question. Do you have a recommendation, Amber, for the amount of hours? Cause I don't know the treasurer position at all, so I'm not sure.
So the treasurer position is the school and town treasurer.
Right.
Okay.
So, there's duplicate records that have to be kept at the school, all the deposits have to be done, you have to reconcile their bank account as well as sign the orders and all that fun stuff, so there's that portion. Since I started, it's been 2 days a week, 16 hours.
Does the school pay for part of that then?
They do it, they pay the town. They pay the town, nah, I don't wanna speak at a term, $6,000 roughly as part of the plowing service. Half of the town report and treasurer services are all paid. So that said person is in the town get reimbursed to offset the cost of, what is being paid to that position.
So that's 16 hours just for the school, or
No,
that's
that's
16
just
hours total job?
Total.
What was budgeted?
$25,000.
That kind of makes a difference, right? If in the budget, whatever the select board chose to budget for that
Right.
position, kind of feeds that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'd have to see, well, there
Yes.
was, I think there was two, whether it would be a full-time or a part-time, because I think is the way they figured it.
Because the ad currently says both.
Yeah, so I think it was figured out as either a part-time position or a full-time position.
So maybe we might
Or
want
a
to,
salary
maybe
rate.
we want to clarify that in the ad.
That it is part-time?
Unless we feel, unless the board wants to roll, I don't know, other duties, or we need to find out, I guess, everything that the treasurer has to do.
I sent
In order
that
for-
to Doug via email previously, so I will pull out that email and I can send that to you.
Okay, thank you.
I would love to help being on be on the interview committee if that helps and to be a
Okay.
part of that transition. If this current board does not want that, I respect that and I'm fine with that. But it's definitely something I don't mind taking the time to.
Yeah,
do.
I think it'd be a
thank you.
valuable resource.
Thank you.
I have a question. The town bookkeeper and the town treasurer, are there job duties that overlap, or can the town treasurer assist with bookkeeper duties also? Is that something that?
They can,
Usually-
they like a backup,
Mhm.
but what it is more of a checks and balance type thing, so that, you know, the bookkeeper enters the
Mhm.
invoices, makes it one, but the treasurer signs the checks.
And
So it's,
reconcile. You
yes.
don't want them to be the same person because you will
Yeah.
have a deficiency in your. office.
Yes, no, I just have
Right.
I have had input
Yeah.
about bookkeeper duties, feeling like they were either some issues were falling through the cracks, or that some things were not getting caught or done properly and timely. So my question is about if the treasurer could also, and I'm assuming the answer is no, because if the treasurer is signing checks, he or she cannot also do other bookkeeper duties. But my concern is with what we have for the bookkeeper, if all duties are feeling like they have been getting done properly, because it seems like from town employees, that maybe some things are not getting done thoroughly and completely.
So I mean, that's an issue to take up, to talk in executive session.
Yeah, okay,
Regarding,
yep, okay.
yes, and these, so the jobs. Well, I should say, to start with, the bookkeepers had to put together a new payroll system this year. We've changed the way invoices have been done, so everything has come brand new.
Mhm,
So, yes, it's a learning
Mhm.
curve.
mhm. But so I guess just to clarify, just to circle back, that the treasurer, making a treasurer full-time is irrelevant in this instance.
I don't think you have
Well, not-
money for it.
Okay,
I personally think in this year's budget, you don't have the
Well,
money.
I'm
Okay.
thinking, but I'm thinking we haven't filled certain positions. They haven't come in the beginning, so there is that money in there for a full-time treasurer. Because we don't have a select board clerk yet. So things have gotten hired after the fact, so there still is money left in the budget. If we felt we wanted a full-time treasurer, there could be a full-time treasurer.
I think maybe we'll stick with the part-time, and then if need be, further down the road, we can make it. Is that wrong?
Should be making a motion
Yeah,
for
so
that?
it's-
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
I make a motion.
So you're clear though, if the bookkeeper is gonna be gone for a week and something needs to be done and bills need to be entered, I will enter those bills. So that's always been, there has to be someone there to be able to at least do that backup, because
Mhm.
people are entitled, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To take time
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
So I
So I'm
think
sorry,
before
what-
you make a motion to make it a part-time one, I think we need to look at this position and.
I wasn't,
what
sorry, I
needs to
wasn't
do-
making a motion to.
Right, to see exactly, will a full-time be too much? Will part-time not be enough?
Because the
So-
bookkeeper's never been a full-time position with just being the bookkeeper
Right.
either. So the bookkeeper and the treasurer in my whole tenure of working for the town has been, it was 3 days for the bookkeeper when I no longer when I did the split, but then even that bookkeeper after 2 days was like, for 3 days, I don't have enough work. I just need 2 days. So I know things have changed, but they have always been 2 part-time.
Okay, great.
positions, just to throw that.
Yeah.
That was my,
So
That's
and
what I
the
was
jobs
thinking.
have all been altered, so
Yeah, they
they're
have
taking
been.
on different tasks.
Okay.
So because, we have a lister that, our assessor that needs 8 hours of assistant time that he's not getting per contract. So there's other jobs being consumed around these jobs. So I think until you know all the duties of these, I don't think we should rule on part-time or full-time.
right,
yet. Yes.
that's what I was, yeah.
So who should we have get together to look at this staffing situation? It seems to fall into the personnel and policy committee, it looked like to me, but that's.
I think it also
Along with
makes sense
obviously
to.
the administrator has a lot of input on that as well, and I think that would be where we go.
Okay. Do we need a motion? Or are we moving on to the next?
No,
I would suggest we do make it a moment. Would you, that we get this committee to look at the duties and responsibilities and,
You want that under a motion?
yeah, well, I'm sort of feeling it out. Okay. Right.
Carolyn, do you want it
Robert's
under a
rules is
motion?
kinda like dragons.
Just like, who do we-
I
some
don't-
personnel and-
Carolyn and I.
Yeah, you and Carolyn. It would mean Carolyn, you and Shannon to get together and work with Cheryl on duties and responsibilities.
And would.
Okay.
Yes, with
Oh, and
Amber,
Amber's-
Amber's
Well, Amber
volunteered
would be
her-
one for the job, yes, to get to define jobs, yes.
Just a comment, when you're gonna be hiring somebody that's going to be a treasurer, that's a certain skill set. And they may not wanna come and be somebody who's taking minutes at a meeting. I think you've got to leave this open because you might get somebody that really wanna do the meetings, but maybe wasn't such a great treasurer. I mean.
Yeah, the treasurer is not taking meeting minutes,
but
that's
if
totally
you're
two different.
Jobs to make it full-time. A good treasurer may not want to take on the other jobs that would make it. full-time.
No,
That'll be part of hiring.
Yeah.
I don't,
That's why we sort of left it a broad
Abroad.
Right.
category, because we weren't sure at this point of whether, because sometimes you find the ideal person that only wants to work half-time. That might be the absolute perfect candidate, okay? But then you have somebody else that looks like a perfect treasurer, but they want to work full-time. And then you might want to see how you can put things together to make that work. I guess that's what I'm saying. And I think that's why we left it such a broad category when we put it in the budget.
Yes.
some of the conversations that I had heard was that currently, Amber, maybe you could explain better than me, the treasurer's, the treasurer doesn't have specific hours that they have to put in, correct? You
By-
just
by
have
law,
to,
no.
by law, you just have to give the reports, is it quarterly reports? So I think that what I heard from people and my understanding was that the reason they were looking at bringing a treasurer's position possibly full-time or even more than part-time was so that they could be present at more meetings and have office hours here. So that was my understanding. Am I incorrect? Do I understand that differently? That you were looking at kind of changing some of the ideas as to how many meetings and stuff that they go to?
Can I respond? Yeah, I think that, you pretty well put your finger on it, okay, that one reason we went to an appointed position was just. Like you said, there are just sort of statutory things that the treasurer is supposed to do now, if I'm correct, right?
Just like
Okay.
you, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, and by appointing it, we may assign them other duties that would be beneficial to the select board and the town, okay, right? So again, that's where we were coming from when we left it so broad, but you
Thank you.
stated it very well. Okay.
Yes, but you didn't budget for, there are no monies in the budget for benefits,
Mhm.
so. I'm not so sure for this year,
Mhm.
more than happy to have the conversation, but I don't think you have enough money in your budget this year to cover a full-time staff member. That's my concern.
Okay.
Okay. Good concern. So Carl, would you still like to proceed with your motion to have Carolyn and Shannon,
Amber.
and Amber, and Cheryl,
Okay.
look, review the, position of treasurer?
Yes, I move that.
Do we have a second? Oh,
A second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Did I
So,
did I mention the right name? I did say Carolyn and you.
Mhm.
no, just tell her to slow down.
Let me finish my motion here. Okay.
Rec director application.
Okay, so we have quite a few applications that we have received for the rec director to start up our rec department. So I'd like to see if we can move forward with maybe starting some interviews on those and then bringing those candidates to the board afterwards.
So who's conducting interviews?
That would be the personnel person and myself.
Okay.
Or in this case, maybe some from the rec group.
The GCEC.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the two people that are on this board. I don't know what you talk about.
Yeah.
Shannon,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and one of them happens to be the same person. so that
Right,
works out
that's
well.
why I said Shannon. Yeah,
Okay, we're in discussion, right?
Mhm.
It was brought to my attention that, we might want to consider looking over the, description for the record. Properly, it properly represents what we are hoping, that what we are looking for, in the position going forward. Do we have anybody who,
Right now, is that the one that's posted though?
this is the one that's posted?
Or not the ad, this is the actual job description.
that's the job
Okay.
description for the recreation director and grant writer. Yeah, and Suzanne, you did get that description, correct?
I did, thank you.
This is different from the previous description that was this updated at any point? No, okay,
This is what's been sent out, so.
all right,
Is there also, sorry, to get back to the salary question, is there also a salary or hourly wage?
So that one is $60,000
Okay.
per year. But
Um,
it's
Go ahead.
got to be self-sufficient at the end of 3 years.
Correct. Okay, so my question is, I'm under the understanding that the Vermont League of Cities and Towns has a booklet that they have compiled of salaries and wages from multiple municipalities in Vermont. Do we have that book? Okay, and that was used to base these.
That was
salaries?
based on salaries, yes. We actually, other rec directors has pretty much said that's what was
Okay.
in the ballpark.
Okay,
Very,
for
very
similar sizes
qualified.
and,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
okay.
Yeah.
And so do we need to make a motion for you to proceed?
So we can just start.
Just start the
Agree,
search?
Just move
Okay.
forward.
All right. Then, if there's no further discussion or questions, let's move forward. Are there any discussions or questions?
On the record,
Yes,
I just would like to make sure the grant writing part isn't left behind, because I feel like it's important to the
Yes.
town.
okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
There are some, salary bonuses built in there based on the income that they bring in for the activities they hold, and I think that money should not be part of their part of going towards getting that increase in salary, because that should be covering the cost of the activity.
That
Right.
with grants.
Grants, yeah,
Yes.
but not the part where they're charging people to go to activities. That should, in my opinion, that should not be counted towards how much they bring in.
Like it might be a
That should
conflict.
be covering the cost of the
Yeah.
activity.
Like if, like the rec director setting a price to participate in soccer. That it might be a conflict to say. That person gets to set the amount because then it directly reflects how much they get paid.
Hmm.
Where that should maybe be separated.
I'll read the part that I'm having an issue with. Says, as of January 1, 2024, the director is expected to raise sufficient funds as noted below to offset 30% of their salary and benefits through fees collected through participation in programs. That is my problem right there. And 10% of grants awarded to the town will be applied to help offset the goal. The grants, that makes sense. We want them to apply for grants, and the more they bring in, then the more of a bonus they should get. But fees collected, they're setting the fees and then they get to use that to offset and get a bonus.
No, those
It
grants
says if
above
they
and
meet this
beyond.
goal, they'll get a 5% salary increase.
But they have to bring the fees to the board. But they've somehow got to make this a self-sustaining position.
I understand that, but.
And if they don't get any money
It's
from
going to
fees,
cost money to put on the program, so using the fees to get their salary increase means that money doesn't go to pay for the expense of putting the program.
well, we're talking like the fees that they pay now for like soccer, basketball, baseball, those types, you have to pay a fee that they do now at the Georgia school if you want to play. So part of those fees would go,
It doesn't say part of the fees, it says the fees collected.
Yeah.
so
So we should make that clear.
And it's in there in two different places where they get two different salary increases, and I just feel like.
Heather has a comment.
Heather, yes.
And then,
So. In my opinion, if a rec director is going to be setting fees for programs and stuff, they're not gonna set fees out of the bounds of what people are gonna be willing to pay for them. Because then they're not gonna get anybody in there. You set the soccer fees at $80 a person and then people don't sign up and you only get a couple of kids, then they've set themselves up to fail. If they put it out there for a reasonable cost that includes their, helping to become self-sufficient by helping to pay for their salary, paying for the cost of the program, the insurance and other things. That is how programs typically are run. I would say that makes sense to have it do that and maybe not just the rec director set the fee,
No,
maybe
that
the
comes the
committee
board.
or the board set the fees and stuff, but I don't see a problem at it at all. I think that it's important that the rec director, starts to become self-sufficient, and so that it's not just us trying to figure out how to come up with that money.
We have a
Okay,
comment
Laura.
over here.
It's just my opinion, that through your hiring process for your rec director, which I think is your grant writer, it should be grant writer, rec director. You could drop the fee process off of it altogether, except for the grant 10%. Because the amount of money that they're gonna generate towards their salary for the fees of playing basketball and soccer and all that is negligible. Your highway bridges.
Good point.
So if you even drop that out and didn't even have it in there, you're gonna end up with, hopefully, through your hiring process, you will get a quality grant writer who has a good personality, can work well with the individuals around the town, and be a good rec director.
All right, that's a good point. Yes. Do we need to make a motion on whether or not we would like to change the wording a little bit, or can we do that just later on through the hiring process?
I would suggest we mull this over and take it up at a future meeting, as we get into the process of interviewing these candidates and that sort of thing.
Another quick, I mean, you could, if you wanted to, and you're a little quansia on whether or not they were gonna do a good job at rec there, you could throw participation bonus. So if they had X number of amount of people participating in directed things, you set a set amount that says, hey, you're gonna get a $5,000 bonus.
That's right, like the fees was
Yeah,
sort of a way to
and
measure
based
that,
on it,
but,
it's
you know,
just
we
based
could
on
do
you
it.
getting
Yeah.
people involved.
Let's hold it off and we'll explore it and see what we would like going forward.
So are we bringing
So-
this back? Are we not contacting candidates? I just need to know the direction we're headed.
Yeah, I think if we have candidates, that leaving them hanging is not the best idea. So I think that we,
I would say,
Because this is kind of like a step program
Yeah.
also, so that
Mhm.
they can get a,
mhm,
if they're doing well, then this
Mhm.
bumps up their salary. Well,
I think-
that they're bringing in.
yeah,
my suggestion would be that if we move forward with reaching out and
Mhm.
trying to find candidates, that we, for the moment at least, drop everything except for the grant writing, and we'll see whether or not we want to add that in later. If that's, I mean, if that's something that we decide is necessary, but I think that the grant, what we really want would be somebody who could do grant
Yeah.
writing.
Well,
Yes, Carl.
No, I think what Brian talked about, the participation rate, I mean, we thought that the fees would obviously reflect participation. rate.
Right.
So, you know, I think we were talking the same thing. What we want is a combination of the grant writing skills, but also the fact that they are building a rec department that
Right.
people are using and that sort of thing. So whether we call it participation or fees, I think is somewhat immaterial. Maybe we could change the wording in the thing, but I like the term participation, so.
Okay.
Can I just qualify one thing? You're talking grant writing, all encompassing, correct? It wasn't just directed at rec.
Correct,
Right,
it's
right.
across,
yeah.
Right, they're gonna run
Yeah.
the rec program and get grants for that program, and that's other grants for the town.
Mhm.
That's how they were gonna get
Okay.
part of their
Just wanted
salary.
to- I'm really
Yeah.
understanding that you're
Yeah.
hiring a grant writer
Yeah.
all the way around.
Mhm.
Fire director, yeah.
Can-
One more,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know if it would behoove you to get in touch with Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns to, I don't know what they charge you, but they know a lot more about grant writing and would know a lot more about interviewing somebody who might be slinging a little bull and somebody who knows what they're talking about as far as being a good grant writer.
Northwest
But
Regional
that's-
Planning would be another.
That's just a suggestion.
Sorry, I would be willing to do
Northwest
that.
Regional Planning would be another good,
that's true.
because they do
Yeah.
grant writing services as well.
And
Yeah.
some of our applicants that we do have grant writing experience. They have written grants.
Great, yeah, I think both of those points should be taken into account about how to vet people who either have experience or find a way for someone to show us what it is they have done. I don't know if they have portfolios or I don't know.
Yeah, no, I just know that.
Yeah, so I think
That's a very
asking,
important position.
yeah, asking the Vermont League of Cities and Towns or asking the Northwest Regional Planning. For a little recommendation, a little guidance on that. Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
So do we need to make a change in the job description? I guess that's the question.
Yeah,
We want to put in participation rate instead of fees. That's all
Right.
I'm saying. Okay. All right, can we do that, Cheryl? Without too much problem or what?
So this is fees collected through participation in programs.
Mhm.
So what am I?
Maybe take out programs. Maybe take out programs.
Well, no, because you want the programs.
Well.
So
They don't have programs saying.
Yeah,
that
it's just that they're not gonna get
count
paid.
towards Their
Right.
bonus.
Yeah,
right. It's not good, doesn't go towards the bonus.
They'll get a 5% salary increase based on the grants that they write, not on
5%.
I thought it was 10%.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, don't drop it.
We want a good grant writer. All right,
So what this says though is 10% of the grants awarded to town, we've applied to offset the goals. So if he meets all his goals, then he gets a 5% increase in the base salary.
Yeah, he or she, they.
They, them, there. So have,
So, sorry, what do you?
To offset 30% of their salary and benefits.
I'm better.
I don't think so. But you better just check with
They
her.
can use.
Maybe for anything else.
Grant.
I don't think so.
And this is really strange.
Yeah, I can.
I would think that you want to revisit this before you.
Make the
hire
pay
someone.
structure a little more
Yeah.
clarified.
Okay.
I've worked in education for many years. There are a lot of grants that are really, really great. Until you read the fine print where you get money for 3 years and then the town has to pick up the rest of it and continue with the program for eons after, the taxpayers get stuck with a lot of money that maybe they might not have wanted to do if it's done otherwise. So when you're talking with grant writers, I would hope that you would make it apparent that the types of grants that you want aren't the ones that the town has to continue after the grant money is over in paying. Continuing with the program by paying it yourself at the taxpayer's expense. Because that often happens with educational grants for programs that look really great in the beginning, but you end up with your tax dollars being raised a great deal at the end of it because you have to continue that program.
Well, it's sounding to me like we could probably use a little bit of clarification with the pay structure. And so why don't we take a little bit of time to get some advice from all the cities and towns in the Northwest Regional Planning Commission. And see whether or not we can get our I's dotted and our T's crossed. That's my suggestion now. Carl.
I think the issue is we have some candidates. And we
Yeah.
Don't want.
We already
to
have
lose them.
candidates.
Yes.
So, I think we should start the interview
Yes.
process.
Okay.
and, that's my personal
Yeah.
feeling.
Okay.
If they ask very specific questions about that, I guess we'll have to get
Beyond
more
that.
clarity, but at the moment, it's a little nebulous anyway, what
Right,
that means. So,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
that formula, so that's the
So,
way I would look at it.
I make a motion to start our interview process, get that moving. And
any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I,
Carol? Okay. Then we are moving forward. Union negotiations.
So next couple of weeks, we expect that the union members the negotiations will start. So just to give you a heads up, who wants to be on the negotiating
I'll do it.
team?
I'd be willing to help you with that.
I'm just looking, can I ask you a question? I presume we are planning on hiring a labor attorney to help us in this.
I believe so.
What's that?
Yes, I think Maryland.
Maryland, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I mean, we have an attorney, in the law firm we use that has presumably some.
Yeah.
Expertise.
So we should consult with them before we do anything.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Carl, how do you feel about being on that group too? And are we able to have 3 people on that negotiation team?
It would give us a
It
quorum,
would-
but
It would have to be warned.
Yeah. Maybe come back. Okay, so
I mean, I'd be willing to step back and let you do it.
I just think, Carl, I don't know how
Yes.
much experience the other 2 have had, but I think that you have had a lot of experience and you'd be really valuable on there. If you have time and you have, and you'd like to. Just my
Yeah.
comment, you don't have to
Fine,
go
I'm
with it.
up to Seven, okay.
I will let you work with Sharon.
I'm thinking I'm in on that as well, or?
Yes,
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, Todd, when we do something like that, you have to do as well, okay? I mean, that would be my my position on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
All right. Select board subcommittees and reports.
Okay, first, are we postponing transparency till the next?
Oh, I'm
meeting?
sorry, I was looking after this. Do
still
we
raising
want
that.
to have a discussion on transparency?
I
Or
don't
do
have
we,
that on here.
that's because that was
Plus,
added.
we added it in
Okay,
the beginning.
okay.
Or do we want to discuss that at the next meeting?
I move we discuss it at the next meeting.
What specifically does that entail?
That would entail finding ways in which we can make sure that the community is engaged and understands what we're doing.
I guess my question is, what are we thinking about in between now and the next meeting that would make the next meeting more relevant to talk about transparency?
I
We
think,
just have a bunch of issues we still have to get through
Yeah.
in executive
Okay.
session.
yeah, we do,
Okay.
yes. I think it would be discussions about whether or not we might want to try updating our town website. See whether or not, no offense to LCA TV, but whether or not we might want to have other media out
Okay.
networks.
Okay,
join us.
just so I have an outline of,
Yeah.
and people hear that there is an outline of things that we are gonna be talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it sounds like we can table this for the next meeting. Move, thank you.
He's learning.
He is learning.
That's why I'm so silent.
No, thank you,
Get it all
thank
in.
you.
So I second your motion to move it.
Uh,
For the
Okay,
next meeting.
Yeah.
all right, all in favor?
I,
There we go. Select board subcommittees and reports.
Okay. Me. Okay, first off, I'm gonna start with an apology for the town report. There was apparently some issues with typos. I guarantee that there was a bunch of us that looked at this town report, we went over it with a fine tooth comb, and what happened is when we converted them from Word to PDF and then sent them off, that's when apparently we got issues. So they were not intentional, the town report was not gone through, I'll say. It was red pen, it was gone through, so I apologize for the town report that went out, just so everybody's clear. The next thing is the voting results for Northwest Solid Waste District. They passed with 3,879 votes to yes and 1,828 to no.
Really?
So that bond did pass.
Great.
Question in back of you.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
Was that a different timeline for counting those votes versus everything else? Cause when I went in to vote, those were no longer there to vote for.
Because they had run out of ballots that they issued us. So, and then, no, they picked them up at 7 o'clock. After voting session. But no,
Okay. I was just very disappointed that I didn't have a chance to vote for that yet.
no, we ran out of the ballots that they issued us.
So all of the town voters didn't get to vote on.
We had 659 ballots that they issued us. We had 835 voters.
So, yeah.
But, yes.
They were having this done in 19 towns all at once.
Yeah,
It wasn't terribly well orchestrated by the group. I mean, that's the best thing I could say. I mean, I think they tried to reach out, but they.
Would that have affected the outcome at all if everybody had voted no, that didn't get to vote?
No.
Okay. That's all I need to know.
Well, it wouldn't have won. It wouldn't have
I'm
been
very
our
sad
town
that
anyway.
people didn't get to do
Yeah.
that because that's their right.
Yeah, no,
But,
but it wouldn't have made a difference in our town. I can't tell you about the other town.
okay, yeah.
So it sounds to me like we had pretty good participation in our town. There's
Mhm.
19 of them and, you know,
Mhm.
they only had like, what was the total? Like 3,000 votes or something.
3,820, 3,879.
That was the yeses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, total votes
Another
were
1,900.
Yeah, the total of between the yes, no, spoiled and blank votes, which there was 5 spoiled, 75 blank was 5,787 votes. Okay. The next thing that I have and actually I'll be turning this over to Todd in a moment. Is that the heater in the fire department is gone. I don't know if anybody remembers going to the informational meeting and it being very cold over there.
Here,
Oh,
it's not that here.
It's not that heater? Oh, it's in the bay? But didn't we have problems with both heaters? Because I just said,
What, the fire department?
so we had both, yeah, both heaters.
Right now, we have 2 heaters.
Okay. So do you want to finish explaining this? Do you-
So I'm just looking for the board's permission by our purchasing policy, or, and I don't remember the exact amount, but I think it's over a couple $1,000s. I have to get permission to spend money. So I've been contacting individuals or businesses to replace it. I've heard from 2. It's been almost a week. I haven't heard from number 3 or number 4 I had reached out to. So at this point, I don't think that they're gonna be putting one in. So I'm just looking to be able to spend no more than $8,300.
And you have 2 quotes right now, and that's all that you've gotten back, and it's
I-
winter and it's a heater.
And
Okay,
83 for both, right?
83 is just for the one that needs to be replaced.
Okay.
The other one is gonna be just parts.
I have a question in back.
So those are just gas heaters, they're not hot water or anything, so what's wrong with the one that, I mean, it's just gas igniter and a.
The heating plenum or whatever on the front is cracked. There's no fixing it.
Sure.
So it's 13 years old.
One of those that if you replace the one, the same price as putting a new one in.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
all right. So
We'll need
do
a
we
motion.
need a motion to approve the spending on the
Of no more than
8, no
83.
more than.
no more than 83,000?
8300.
$8,300.
And we're doing this realizing that we're not getting the 3 quotes as required by our policy, but this sounds like it is urgent and we
Yeah.
should move forward.
We're required to reach out to at least 3 vendors. If people don't submit, then it still meets our purchasing policy.
All right,
okay.
Thank you.
all right, so somebody
So
want to
moved.
make a motion? I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right,
If we could, I'm sure you folks haven't reviewed the purchasing policy yet, but
They will, because we have.
over a certain value, you have to have pre-sealed bid. I don't know what that number is, but you really need to. review the document.
Is that in our packet?
The purchasing policy?
Okay.
No, unless then you guys would all of a sudden right off the bat.
Did they get the binder?
No, because all that stuff in the binder is outdated. So
our
we looked on that. So that is all I had.
next is buildings.
So which none of these committees have actually, you guys haven't had a
We haven't
chance to
met
do
yet.
anything.
No, I've had any.
Our task.
So
task
we could
force.
ask the auditors to give a
So-
report.
So-
Once.
Yeah,
Okay.
Todd's right here.
right here.
Oh,
That's
Todd, would you like to give a report?
Well, you know about the fire station heat. I still have, well, I think it was in the thing from the last one, the window's still currently leaking in our wash bay. I had talked to them today, they're supposed to be addressing it. When the weather's warmer, our eye wash / emergency shower is not working. They're gonna be contacting the plumbing company to come in and find out why we're not getting water to that unit. I still haven't got a quote from Connors for the repair of the building. To be able to submit to the insurance company, because the building was.
That's with the panel that was damaged.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the wing it at the panel.
All right,
We do have the panel, right? We do have the panel available.
We have one, but it's gonna be built out as if we don't have one, because
So we have.
in the future, when this is, when it's not under warranty and we have more knowledge of how this is gonna, how to fix it. Because they're all interlocking panels, so
Okay.
hopefully when they fix it, we'll have a knowledge of how that can happen, and if it does happen again, we can fix it in-house.
all right, 8,300. Do we have any other reports.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Is the eye wash / shower, is that under the plumbing? Are they
Yeah,
gonna,
it's through a Wanda, they had hooked it up.
so they're gonna, is there any cost to us? Okay,
No, 1 year warranty for the building, so it's
Perfect.
all included. Same
Okay.
thing with the window that's leaking,
sure,
no cost.
good.
All right,
Do you have a backup eye wash?
No. Well, we have a like portable one,
Okay, that's what. I
but
was-
not like, we have to move it from the other building.
Okay,
Take one pressurized,
Is what?
this is the one, can't get a pressurized.
No, it's right off the, yeah.
all right,
The backup one, the other one is pressurized through the well.
okay. Do we have any other questions? Any other reports?
At the moment, let's see, I'm taking a look here. What do we have?
I have a question about the personnel policy. Is that a new policy?
It's in the hands of the attorney, which I reached out to her a few times to see when we'll receive the updated version back.
Okay, and it was updated because it was at a date or?
Mhm.
Is,
Yeah, plus it's gotta be updated because of the garage going to unionize. That whole section has to come out because they will follow a different contract.
That portion of the personnel will be covered in the contract, is my understanding.
so we'll have so you're assuming that there will be people in the garage that are working side by side, that some are in the union and some are not?
So all of them are in the union except for the supervisor. Yes,
Okay, and so then they'll be operating under different personnel policies?
yes.
Okay, and were people involved in that policy writing, or was that, who wrote the policy?
Well,
Or
we've
which
done it
one?
together.
The personnel
The
policy?
personnel policy, we're going off the previous policy that the town had and just updated it.
Updated it, like it specifically, I'm sorry, I'm not,
I can give
Questioning,
you,
I'm just
because it
wondering.
went out to all the department heads.
Mhm.
Everybody wrote their notes or whatever that they wanted into it.
okay.
And then those that follow this policy,
Mhm.
like the library chooses to have a different policy.
Mhm.
So those that choose this policy, all their recommendations and updates are in this policy.
Okay, great, so it was a collaboration of all the departments. Okay, great.
Do you have any other questions, comments? All right, then I believe the next,
I'm sorry, there is one, because maybe Todd could give us an update on what said Public Works hire. Have we
Okay.
interviewed somebody?
We haven't yet. I'm gonna be reaching out to him this week. Last week, the end of the week, we had the snowstorm come in and I wasn't able
Okay, all right.
to get out to him, but I don't know, that's listed as public works hire, so I'm not sure if that is because you're looking to, or you're wanting to post ads for like the maintenance of the beach. Because if that was under the highway department, it should say highway, not public works.
I thought we had put
Yeah, no,
highway
that,
under Public Works. I mean, now maybe I'm wrong.
no, that's for public works for the grounds when it gets closer, when
Okay,
Todd
all
wants
right.
to decide what he wants to do for the public works
Okay.
fires.
My mistake.
Yeah,
all right,
But we do need to post for both, so, or I mean, for the public works, so.
Right.
We'll get something together and get it to the board
thank you.
and hopefully the next board meeting, I'll come back with a recommendation for a hire.
All right. Well, then I believe the next part of the meeting is the next plan meeting and agenda.
Wait, sorry, can I just ask real quick, what's the beach update?
that's just one of if there's something happening at the beach.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Which is planned for Monday, March 27th, 2023. We'll make sure to have, it's Todd, right?
Yes.
We look forward to having you there. Anything else we need to do other than announce that?
Nope, now we'll just make a motion to go into executive session.
All right, would anybody be willing to make a motion to move us into executive session?
I move that we move into executive session due to the fact that premature disclosure of items that we are to discuss may be detrimental to the individuals involved and or the board.
I second. All in favor?
Alright,
Uh,
Thank you, everyone.
thanks for coming.
You have to say, these do keep you from